Thank you for being here tonight at our rarely called council meeting. As we commence, I ask that you please silence your electronic devices and refrain from creating any disruptive sounds. At this time, I do invite Pastor Brian Williams from Ecclesia Christian Fellowship to lead us in the invocation, and Elizabeth Rodriguez, following Pastor Williams, from Wilson Elementary School to lead in our Pledge of Allegiance. Elizabeth is in the fifth grade. Welcome both. Would you please stand?
Good evening. Why don't we pray together? Bow your heads. Eternal Heavenly Father, we ask that you quiet our minds. Help us to be sensitive to your direction as we conduct business tonight. Direct our hearts in your living ways as we seek strength for our lives and inspire our spirits with your living water. Bless our city, bless our mayor, bless our city officials. And finally, we thank you, Father, for your endless grace and your everlasting love. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Thank you, Pastor Williams and Elizabeth. We appreciate your attendance here and your contributions to our community. We thank you. This time we will move into our appointments section. I'm sorry, is there a closed session report?
I just wanted to report that on items 1 through 10 of existing litigation, the City Council approved settlements in those cases and gave council direction on other matters.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. City Attorney. We will proceed on to our appointments section. The first appointment is Ms. Roxana Barrera to the Parks and Recreation Community Services Commission. May I have a motion? Do I have a motion? Very well, and a second? Second. All right. All right.
So I'm going to let Roxana speak for herself.
If you hold on, Mr. Sanchez, just a moment, please. Clerk will announce. Oh.
Yes, yes.
So I just want to clarify, I heard Mr. Charette make the motion and Mr. Mulvihill make the second? No. Mr. Nickel? Okay. Mr. Charette made the motion, Mr. Nickel seconded, and the item passes 6-0.
Very good.
Roxana is a young, smart, talented young lady, and I think she'll do well to represent the first ward. I'm going to let her speak for about 45 seconds, a minute.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Roxana Barrera. I am a 25-year-old Latina, mother, and an educator. I have lived in the west side of San Bernardino for more than half my life. I have love for my community and want to help mold it into a place where my son can grow up happy, healthy, safe, and with plenty of good opportunities. To this end, I have been very involved in my community for the last 4 years. I have volunteered and worked in local campaigns, and this experience has shown me what our city needs: safer and more accessible community spaces for people to come together and prosper. While serving as your Parks and Recreation Commissioner, I will strive to be a strong voice for the community and affect positive change for the people of San Bernardino. I look forward to working closely with the City Council representatives to make sure our city can have safe, clean parks and thriving public spaces. I would like to thank Councilman Theodore Sanchez for giving me the opportunity to serve you. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Barrera. Our next appointment is... Very good.
Roxana, before it's official, you have to your right hand and repeat after me. I, Roxana Barrera,
I, Roxana Barrera,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
to support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
to bear true faith and allegiance
to bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Mr. Mayor,
Very good. Our next appointment is Miss Gloria Amaya to the Measure Z Citizens Oversight Committee. May I have a motion, please? All right. Councilman Nichol with a second from Mayor Pro Tem Richard. You members cast their vote, please. So why don't we do this? So Ms. Amaya, let's call Ms. Garcia, Mr. Montesino, and if you would please arise, and we're going to swear you in all at the same time, and we'll make one motion. That's fine.
I'll make the motion. to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Very good.
So the original motion to approve is superseded?
Yes, that's right. So
So you were making the motion?
Councilman Charette was seconded by Councilman Nichol. All right, if members would please cast their vote on items 2 through 4.
On items 2 through 4, the motion to approve was made by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Nichol, and the item passes 6-0.
Very good. If the city clerk would please administer the oath. Thank you.
So when I say, state your name, please state your name. Raise your right hand. I, state your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I bear true faith and allegiance
that I bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
That I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental
Reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well
and I will well
and faithfully
and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you very much. I need each of you to
While our city clerk is having them sign, I'm going to invite Councilmember Ibarra to join Ms. Amaya at the podium, please, for Measure Z Citizens Oversight Committee. Councilmember Ibarra.
Ms. Gloria, I am happy to appoint you as my commissioner for Measure Z. You step up to the plate. It is a really hard and detailed commission. You have been warned. But there's nothing better than being part of the volunteering as a city commissioner, and I hope you enjoy this experience. Just know that I will be in close communication with you, hoping if you have any questions, feel free to ask me as a former city commissioner. But on behalf of the city, welcome.
Thank
As a
you.
city commissioner, thank you. One more.
come out.
Thank you. At this time, I'll invite Councilman Charette to make the presentation to Dr. Dorothy Garcia.
Thank you, Mayor, and it's my pleasure once again. How many times, Dorothy? I don't know. We need these pens back.
I know I have.
You've got too many. We don't have to buy any more. Dorothy will supply them. No, actually, and thank you, Dr. Dorothy Garcia, better known by everybody as Dorothy, or Dottie. And I appreciate you wanting to be back on this commission. You've been there for many years now and have done a great job. So pleased to have you back. You've been through this before. Here's your pen. Don't lose it. And here's this can go on the wall with all the others.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oops, excuse
Thank
me.
you. Thank you, Councilman Surratt. This commission, Arts and Historical Preservation, isn't, as most of you know, is a fairly new commission, a combined commission. And so we have had sort of a slow time getting started. We were allowed to meet with 5 people, which is a quorum, which was a blessing. However, if somebody's absent, we couldn't meet. So actually, we've only had 2 regular meetings and 1 special meeting since October. But now that we have a new commissioner last council meeting, a new commissioner tonight, this is really wonderful, and we will attempt to do the very best we can for arts, culture, and historical preservation in the city of San Bernardino.
Thank you. Very good. Our next appointment is Mr. Montesino. Councilman Sanchez, you're recognized, sir.
Yes, Mr. Montesino is a pillar of the community in the historic West Side neighborhoods. He's also one of the founding members of the Military Museum on E Street. He has shown a lot of interest in making sure that the city heads in the right direction. He is more than qualified to fill this post, and I know that he has taken this oath once before. You're a military veteran, am I correct?
Yes, Army.
U.S. Army, so I think he's more than qualified. He's going to be a good representative for the First Ward and the city as a whole. Congratulations.
Very good. Thank you. All of our commissioners newly sworn in, we appreciate your contribution, your time, your efforts, and energies in providing feedback to our community. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion for item number 5, approval of Mayor Pro Tem Richard as voting member of the San Bernardino County ICH, with Councilmember Ibarra serving as her alternate.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Thank you.
On item 5, the motion to approve was made by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Nickel, and the item passes 6-0.
Very good. At this time, I will ask the Chamber of Commerce to please approach the dais and provide announcements for our community.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Colin Strange, and I'm the Director of Business Resources for the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce, here with the announcements for the up-and-coming events that will be taking place in our community in the next few weeks. Friday, February the 8th at 8:30 p.m., the Inland Empire Defense Supply Chain and Business Resource Fair will take place at San Bernardino County Community College District offices at 114 South Del Rosa Avenue. So if you want more information, call 619-166-671 for more information. Again, on Friday the 8th, the Unforgettables Foundation Hearts Award Luncheon will take place at 123 Cajon Street in Redlands. Call 335-1600 for more details. On Saturday, February the 9th at 12 o'clock noon, the swearing-in ceremony for incoming Assemblyman James Ramos will take place at the Santos Manuel Student Union on the campus of Cal State University, San Bernardino. Call for 7650233 for details, while later on the same night, the San Bernardino Symphony Orchestra will present A Night at the Pictures at the California Theater. So call 381-5388 if you want reservations. Monday, February the 11th at 9 o'clock, Azusa Pacific University will be hosting a social media marketing workshop at their Inland Empire Regional Campus at 375 West Hospitality Lane. Call 888-9977 for more details. The Chamber of Commerce Governmental Affairs Committee will take place at the Chamber offices at 546 West 6th Street on February the 13th at 9 o'clock. You can call 885-7515. And on February the 15th, the Theatrical Arts presents Forever Tango at the California Theater of the Performing Arts on 4th Street at 8 o'clock in the evening. 885-5152 for reservations. The regular San Bernardino Citified Unified School District Board meeting will be held on February 19th at Indian Springs High School. Call 381-5152 if you need information. And finally, please mark your calendars for February the 28th at 11 o'clock in the morning for the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce, invoking or channeling Bob Dylan, for those of you who remember him. The Times Are A-Changing installation of Officers' Luncheon, featuring the keynote speaker, our own Mayor John Valdivia. The event takes place at the Arrowhead Country Club at 3433 Parkside Avenue in San Bernardino. Please call 885-7515 to reserve your space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. At this time, I'll request Daryl Fry from Assemblymember Gomez Reyes
There you
to
go.
provide announcements.
Good evening, Mayor, City Manager. Community, hello. All right. A few announcements, and I left some flyers here for you to get more details for it, but a couple things. So next month is Women's History Month, as we all know. So our office is honoring about 30 women within our district who are working, living, or volunteering in our district. So if you have any nominations, if you know any women who are pioneering and being trailblazers, please nominate them on our website, and you find a flyer there as well. And then also, we're having a community health fair downtown San Bernardino, in the heart of San Bernardino, with vision screenings, dental screenings, medical screenings as well as wellness vendors. So spread the word, tell a friend to make sure our community, especially downtown, get those medical resources. So check that out. And then last but not least, you'll see a flyer called Policy 47. So this new year, for our assembly member, our whole theme is IE, which means inclusion and equity, right? The spin on IE like that. So we want to actually build policy from the ground up. So meaning we would like to hear your voices to see, because you guys are experts in your own field. You know about homelessness better than people in the Capitol, right? Especially when it comes to our city. So we would love to have you join our policy committees, which deal with mental health, restorative justice, immigration, homelessness. There's about 10 to 12 different committees. So I would love to have your support, and thank you. You should see some flyers here on the side.
Very good. Thank you. Before we move on to our consent calendar, this is the opportunity for public comments. I invite anyone from the public wishing to address the council to speak, to submit a speaker slip. They are there at the counter. I'll call on you as I receive each slip. I do want to make an important clarification, please, that regarding public comments, the public is permitted to speak in general on any topic of their choice. If you wish to do so, please fill out a blue card. You may also speak on a specific agenda item here calendared before the council. If you wish to speak on an agenda item, please fill out a yellow card. Those are for agenda items on our tonight's council. We will hear general comments first, so blue cards first. Once we have completed general comments, we will then move on to the agenda items. And at this time, I'm calling forward Ms. Karina Cornejo, followed by Shirley Harlan, followed by John Schollenberger. Karina, welcome.
Well, thank you.
Recognized for 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here today speaking because I am concerned about the direction in which our local government is headed. Personal issues and ego seem to be taking center stage. Lost in the posturing and arguing is the reality of our city. There have been 5 homicides in our city in 36 days. On average, someone has been killed every 7 days. Approximately once a week, someone has lost their life violently in the city of San Bernardino. Approximately once a week, a mother has lost a child. 5 lives have been lost, 5 families devastated. That is what we need to be focusing on: the crime, the blight, and the homelessness. That is what matters to us, the residents. Their lives matter mostly. Since the swearing in of the new members and mayor, the agenda has been loaded with items that are detrimental to the advancement of the city's progress. On December 21st, an attempt was made to terminate the city manager's contract. Residents spoke and were overwhelmingly against it. Since then, the review of her contract has been on the agenda as a closed session item. One can only surmise that this is an attempt to bully her out of her job. Please don't go, Ms. Miller. Instead of working with the city mayor, the mayor is causing discord in his refusal to accept his roles and duties as the mayor. Almost every item that has been presented by the mayor's office seems to be in contradiction with the city charter, the same city charter that the mayor either can't or won't work with. Section 302 of the city charter states, "The council, in collaboration with the mayor, shall ensure fundamental municipal services are provided to protect and promote public health, safety, and welfare. The council and mayor shall operate together to serve the best interests of the cities." I don't believe that the best interests of the city are what he had in mind when he posted a misrepresented clip of January 2nd's meeting on multiple social media platforms in an attempt to smear Councilman Mulvihill, or his request to put a time limit on the council and impede discussions regarding matters that affect the public. Council members and mayors, please do not forget who you serve. You serve us. You serve the 5 people that lost their lives. You do not serve your own interests. Please remember those 5 lives that were lost. They are what matter. That is what needs to change. Please make our city better by being better yourselves.
Thank you, Karina.
Thank you.
Shirley Harlan, you're up. Welcome. Recognized for 3 minutes. Blue slip. Please proceed.
I want to address the gavel, if you'll hold it up and show everybody what it is. If you go to the Wikipedia, it has a very long history, a very positive long history. And the reason I'm bringing it up is that watching the process at some of the meetings recently, it is not being used with the reverence it should have. The gavel in your hand as the leader of this group is used when you bring the group to order and adjourn it, and if you have a recess, to bring them together again with one bang at where you are sitting. But what I have noticed the last time, and if you will look at your video again, it was used to hammer. And it has not been for the use of something to be abused. What you do have is you have the microphone to use your words to bring order and to request what you want the council and us to do. So I wanted to bring that attention to everybody and look at the Wikipedia. I looked in the Robert's Rules of Orders and saw the times when you use it. And it is a very special instrument that has a long history that goes back to England and before when it was used. And that was what I wanted to communicate to the council and to our community so that they recognize the importance of what the gavel is to us and hope that you will use it with that indication.
Thank you, Ms. Harlan. Mr. Schollenberg, followed by Robert Porter, followed by Rory Murray. Mr. Schollenberger, welcome.
Good
3
evening.
minutes.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The following is a rebuttal to some comments that were made at the 16th, the January 16th council meeting. Jim Mulvihill was elected by the constituents of the 7th Ward to represent us at City Hall. The expectation is that Jim not just vote along with the crowd, which he doesn't, but question things that we in the 7th Ward may feel may not be fiscally responsible or right for San Bernardino. We also expect him to voice our concerns in the public forum and be recognized. And because he chooses to do what is asked of him does not equate to a superior old white man indifference towards, or set a bad example to the newer council members. Jim has a very diverse group of constituents that he works with, and I need the person that made this comment to please keep this in mind. I will not stand idly by while a man's character and reputation is publicly assassinated by politically motivated insinuations. We don't need the current style of DC politics in San Bernardino. We're trying to promote unity and get on the happy train of progress. It's time to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Second thing I want to talk about is the field reps for the council people. That was item agenda 18 last month. I like this idea. It's very forward-thinking and will balance out workloads for our council people. Once necessary services are properly staffed, you should seriously look into this for the good of our city, and it does bolster job creation. Thank you.
Mr. Porter, followed by Mr. Murray, followed by Paige Miller. Mr. Porter, welcome.
Mayor, council, good people. I'd like to talk today a little bit about the animal shelter first. Little suggestion, team. We need to take care of this, and we need to try to do it in-house if possible. Your political eyes may depend on this. So seriously, look at this. This is the talk of the town. Everyone's talking about it, every side. So compromise, figure out a decision, and make it happen. Cannabis. We're starting to move ahead with cannabis. I'm not as fast or as quick as I would have liked because of all the obstruction due to the last team that was in here. But what I would like to see is maybe look into the possibility of adding a few lounges into our groupings of buckets, and maybe two. 2 lounges would be an appropriate amount for our city, and we could start moving into those aspects. We have, hundreds of bars. Maybe we need a few cannabis bars and make some more money. I'd also like to mention history. Really great that we're adding people to the Historical and Arts Commission. Really cool. I'd like to try to get history added into everything that we possibly can. Nick Cataldo was at that Art Connection walk. The arts are trying to bring in as much history as possible. I think if the city works with our art teams and our history teams, we'll have something really positive to show the city at the end of the year. And the one last thing. I'm a lifelong resident of the 7th Ward of San Bernardino. And sometimes I really do feel like my representative doesn't represent me. He goes against everything that I ever have taught him. And I come up here to every single meeting, and I see someone come here like one time and say, well, that's not how I feel, so don't speak for everyone over there. He may have a really diverse group over there, but all the people I speak to would like to see you go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Mr. Murray, Rory Murray, followed by Paige Miller, followed by, I think it's Jane Summit or Smith. Mr. Murray.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to address the problem of dumping and graffiti in the 7th Ward. I live near the Wash on Harrison between 30th and 40th Street, and it's just becoming a total dumping ground. I've seen appliances of all kinds, living room and bedroom furniture of all kinds. A couple of months ago, I guess the skipper in Gilligan left the minnow shipwrecked near our fire station. And a couple of days ago, we even had a single-wide mobile home dumped on 40th Street. A whole mobile home. This is getting out of hand. I mean, I love San Bernardino, but, you know, we've got free dump days, and the people don't take advantage of it. And I suggest we increase the fines for dumping and maybe install some surveillance cameras along Harrison to get the license numbers of some of these people that think we're a trash can. So I'll speak later on agenda number 45, but that's really all I've got to say right now.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Paige Miller, welcome. You're recognized for 3 minutes.
Hi. Good evening, all. My name is Paige Miller. I'm founder director of the Page Project, and what we do is collect items for new and used items for animal rescue groups in the San Bernardino County and the Los Angeles County. Several years ago, I put my own money out to get flyers for the city of San Bernardino, giving information on low-cost spay-neuters and information why and where to adopt. Had it done in English and in Spanish, and just heard from some folks tonight that they have it in their places of business. If any of you need it for any of your upcoming meetings, you know, I'm all for front-loading the problem. Let's stop it before it becomes a problem. I know the shelter issue is coming up. I'll speak to that in a moment. Also, would like to encourage any of you, as I once did before, your announcements, your weekly or bi-weekly or bi-monthly announcements. Bring a shelter animal, a cat or a dog, one or two of you, with your announcement. This is little Joey. He'd love to go home with you. Free marketing and publicity, okay? That's what it's all about. Secondly, Arrowhead Country Club. Rumors have been swirling about a possible sale or rezoning of the Arrowhead Country Club. It appears nothing's been submitted to the city yet, so Councilman Mulvihill, I know that you're keeping a watchful eye. Mr. Mayor, we look forward to some clarity on that issue next week at the NENA meeting, along with the owner of the facility. It's one of the last golf courses left. It was actually deeded as a green space, as a park space, as a golf course, something nice. It's one of the last gems that's left in San Bernardino. Actually, it was a companion piece to the Arrowhead Springs Hotel. A lot of people, it's become, through the years, a sanctuary for people and for animals. People come there. They do their 2, 3, 4 miles a day. They run around it. It's somewhere peaceful, quiet. It is a community piece that we need to protect. It was hopeful that there would be a great restaurant that would open up there. The only nice one left in that area is pretty much the Castaways. So, again, we're looking to you for help to turn this city around, the economic driving engine. We have enough free phones being handed out on Highland. We have enough crud. Just drove down it today. This city is crying out for a return of something great that it had the potential to be. Councilmember Ibarra, you're asking questions on fiscal, on numbers. Keep it up. Councilwoman Richard, thank you for your calm and your respectful clarity and your brevity. It's needed. You are Team San Bernardino. We need support on the shelter, on the gems that left in San Bernardino. We need you functioning as a team, respectful with the community, being respectful as well to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Our next speaker is Jim Smith. Mr. Smith, are you here? Moving on to Mr. Ojeda, followed by Dolores Armstead, followed by Aaron Sandel. Mr. Ojeda, you're recognized for 3 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening to the council and members of the public. I'm Luis Ojeda. I'm founder of the group We Are the Change. We're the one that have been cleaning the city for the past 9 months. And I want to commend and congratulate the city. You guys have been doing better, much better since we started cleaning the city. I was at one of the meetings with the police department earlier, and I told Mr. Lothead that it seemed like you guys want to put me out of business because it seems like it's getting hotter and hotter. Even though we're not there yet, I agree, and there's a lot there's to be done, but we also need to do our part and help, report, take pictures of license plates, and also talk to our neighbors and say, hey, you know, there are free dumping days, and all those things can help. Also, I wanted to speak about the last meeting. I was a little bit frustrated with the outcome, and I'm sure a lot of people is. And one of the things that I was the most upset about it was the fact that back in April, if people remember, I was against hiring a public relation firm for obvious reasons. And that day I say, what are we going to promote? The potholes and the trash? And everybody voted for it. Okay, I went along. But then, last meeting, it was voted to be terminated. But this is the problem that I have. First, I wasn't for hiring it, and then I wasn't for terminating it without having anything in return. So basically, we spent $200,000 for nothing. So I've been hearing about election has consequences. So do votes. When you guys vote for something, you need to think about it, that you guys are going to be spending our money, not your money. So before we hire somebody, let's do our due diligence. And before we terminate somebody, we make sure that we can get something in return. Because those $200,000, well, 190 something, for me, just a waste of money. I mean, I'm still waiting for the lights to be placed on the, the regular dumping site, the illegal dumping site that we have. Also, we need more citizen patrols. And I'm sure we can spend that money in a lot of different places. So I want to ask you, you guys are managing our tax dollars. Before you make a decision, think about it, not only on the short-term benefit, but on the short and the long-term consequence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ojeda. Our next speaker is Dolores Armstead, followed by Aaron Sandell, followed by Carmel Rowe and Scott Olson. Ms. Armstead, welcome. You're recognized for 3 minutes.
Well, thank you, Council and Mayor. My issue here is an old issue that came here several months ago. I'm here to request an update on the status of the previously was Boys and Girls Club, whatever it is now. There are many of us in the community that are concerned about what the city is doing with that building and the services that should be provided out of there. The 50-year Boys and Girls Club charter was lost by the former CEO and current CEO of the existing program due to mismanagement. If he lost the 50-year charter due to mismanagement, how do you think he's going to be accountable or responsible when there is no oversight entity overlooking him? The city owns the building, and without the building, operations at 9th Street cannot happen, nor would they get funded by the school district for the programs they provide. The city's building is the foundation of the operations there. Many in the community are proud. We were proud and honored to have the legacy of the Boys and Girls Club for 50 years. It hurts to see it gone. We would like to see something accountable returned. We have a community group that have met with the national and local clubs to find out how we can bring back a credible club. We provided that information to the city's personnel to follow up. To date, neither the school district to date, no one from the city has responded to the school district or to the community group of what's going on, what's going to happen this next year. Are you going to continue with an existing entity that has been mismanaged? The community deserves an answer. The city needs to respond to our concern. We don't need to be in the same condition 2 years from now because the city did not take care of due diligence. As the gentleman said before, it's our tax dollars. It's not your money. It's all our money, and it needs to be well managed. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we do actually plan to bring a report back to the council, either the next meeting or the meeting after, and Jim Tickmeyer is going to get her contact information
Great.
and update her. We have been dealing with some members of the community group. It may not be getting out to the larger community group, but we will make sure that she's updated.
Very good, thank you. Arian Sandell, did I say that right? Welcome, you're recognized for 3 minutes, followed by Carmel Rowe.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Orion Sandal. I've been hearing stories from other people out of San Bernardino that comes to San Bernardino. The city is trashy. The city needs to work on itself. Where is all the money going to? I'm passing through East Street. There's homeless people with tents. They need shelter. Sorry, I'm nervous. They need shelter. Soup kitchens need help to feed them. They need donations. So I know one soup kitchen, Mary's Mercy Center. They've been helping for years. I know my grandmother's been supporting them. My grandfather's been here since the 20s. He was born here. He saw San Bernardino go down. And that's not fair for us. That's not fair for me, for my future children, for their future children. East Street is building up so much traffic. Waterman, off of the 210 freeway, there's so much traffic. It honestly, as me trying to go home, it's irritating. There's traffic. People passing by on the shoulder. That's not fair for everybody that has to follow by the rules of the DMV. If we go off to the shoulder, we get pulled over. That's not fair. Either widen that street, fix the off-ramps. The city bus, we have so many city buses that go through one way. There's 2 buses that go in on East Street. There's the express bus. I'm sorry, but it's just a waste of money. It is. I mean, people are just making U-turns on the roads they're not supposed to. They're making they're breaking a big law. They're crossing the quadruple yellow lines. That's not fair for us. Like I said, if one person tries to do it, a police officer immediately pulls that person over. But as soon as someone does that, they get away with it. Yeah, it's not fair, but that's just a waste of money. That's just a waste of space. We need to figure out what we're going to do with the homeless. We need to figure out what we're going to do with those empty spaces. We need businesses. We need nonprofits. I work as a mentor for mentally disability, and they need the opportunity to grow. They need to look forward to you guys. They see you guys as role models. They want to be you guys. They want to be police officers. But they see you not doing anything. How's that fair for them? I want my consumers, my individuals with disability to look forward to you guys. I want them to clean the city. I want them to help people. But how are they going to help people when your guys are not helping people? That's all I have to say, is just help us. Don't think about yourselves. Help us, San Bernardinoans. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sandell, I want to meet with you personally, so Renee will follow up with your phone number, and we'll arrange a time where you and I can meet on this matter. Ms. Rowe, welcome. You're recognized for 3 minutes.
So I just wanted to say that I've noticed that some of the street lights are fixed and some of the trees are trimmed, and it's a little brighter here in San Bernardino. However, there's always something. For probably the last 3 weeks, and I'd probably have to say it's probably since, the circus has been going on around here in this council chambers, I've been being harassed at my house. My kid's tags for his car were scratched off, and then the city gave my kid a $90 ticket. My other kid paid for his tags, but because his car is too old, he had a hard time finding some place to get it smogged. But his tags were paid for, and a police officer showed up at our door, and they were going to tow my kid's car, and my other kid ran out, and he says, like, hey, don't. And I talked to the officer, and I let him know that my tags were paid, and that actually when I drove the car, the brake fluid must have went out, even though I paid for the brakes to get fixed, and that I would move it. And he says, okay, we'll move it as soon as possible, but like within 48 hours. So the city comes back in 36 hours and tows my kid's car. He's 21 years old and has a kid. Somebody wanted to buy that same car from my kid for $700. So my kid is now out $700. And then today I come home to unload Girl Scout cookies because it is Girl Scout cookie season. So if anybody needs any cookies, my daughter's selling them, $5 a box and 4 for $20. But then I get a ticket on my car because I'm parked on the sidewalk in my driveway. And I'm home for maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and it's a $54 ticket. And I've had enough, And I'm not really going to stand for too much more, because if I have to fight back, it's not going to be nice. And I'm not saying that it's any of you, but what I'm saying is that there's still leaks in the system, and there's still politics going on behind closed doors and doing things to people. And we should get to the bottom of this, because I should be allowed to come up here every week and speak freely. Even if you don't like what I have to say, I should be allowed to come here and express how I feel in the city, express how I feel about the government in the city, express how I feel about maybe other people's opinions in the city, and not have to worry about my kid's car getting towed, about a $54 ticket, about a $90 ticket, about the code enforcement lady coming over, a volunteer, not for a $400 ticket, and then to have to come to court and waste an hour and a half of everybody's time that you guys are paying for. Like, I should be allowed to speak. People should be allowed to speak. So I would please like you guys to get to the bottom of the holes in the government system, because I should be allowed to speak. And the last thing is I know that we have a vacancy in the 3rd Ward. And John, I know how good you took care of the 3rd Ward and the businesses in the 3rd Ward, but on Foisey, the potholes are so bad, like taking my kids to school. All the kids, all the parents have now to get new tires. I've replaced my tires 3 times in 2 months. Like, if we could work on the Foisey potholes.
On Foisey, south of Central?
Between Central and Norman.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Olson, followed by Ryan Morrell. Mr. Olson, welcome. 3 minutes.
Before my time starts, I would like a clarification from the chair. Do we get 3 minutes total, or do we get 3 minutes with the blue slip and the yellow slip? And if we only get 3 minutes total, why do we even have a blue and a yellow slip? That needs to be addressed. Now, I will start the speaking. For the last 13 years, we have suffered from some serious issues in this city as far as administration. First, we started with the mayor, who said we don't need more than $120 million to run a city, and the end result was we were bankrupt. The last speech this mayor gave was an instruction manual on how to get out of bankruptcy. I don't know about you, but that's not how I would do things. Well, we elected another mayor, and he spent 5 years. So we have a legacy of a mayor with the bankruptcy, and now we have the legacy of the last mayor of keeping us in bankruptcy twice as long as any other city in the history of the United States, following the first mayor's plan. We got a lot of baggage left over from those years, and it's a big challenge. I'm going to use 2 words here to sum up where the problem is and where the change needs to happen. We were told regionalization, regionalism was the solution. Basically, it goes like this. We give up as many of our possible city departments as possible. We give up the fire department. We give up the city attorney's office. They worked hard and got rid of a lot of city departments. And look at our city. Where's the positive change? Regionalism is basically hiding behind a bureaucracy and failing to meet the needs of the residents. Second word is progressivism. It's based on a progressive philosophy. Progressive is not an ideology. It's not how you do things. It's a methodology. It's how you take something apart. We seem to have had 10 years where we were told being progressive was progress. Well, look around us. We don't have progress. Now we have 2 items on the agenda, number 25 and number 27. By an administration, and we have a lot of people left over from that administration who are still loyal to regionalism and progressivism, the failures of our city, and will do anything they can. You'll have reports from consultants or people they hire. Now, we all know these reports. They hire somebody to tell them what they already want to have happen. 25 with the animal shelter, like they did with the fire department, like they did with Parks and Recs, like they did with the city attorney's office. The goal was to wipe out that department so we could justify passing off the responsibility to somebody else. Any attempt to pass off the animal shelter on any other government agency is regionalism. It is just a continuance of the failures of this city. And I don't care who doesn't like what I say, that's reality. You were elected change. Change means we don't want to regionalize, we want to be a regional leader. Progressivism does not mean progress. You were elected with the expectation that there would be progress.
dumping your responsibility on either the animal shelter or the city hall.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Your time is up.
Is not the answer.
Thank you, sir. Ryan, recognized for 3 minutes. Welcome.
Hey guys, some of you may already know me. I'm Ryan Myro. I own the Jimmy John's here in San Bernardino and the ones in Redlands as well. So, business owner in the community, love the community, and I just want to make it as good as possible. So, today is actually a fun, cool thing. We are actually partnering up with and sponsoring Project Fighting Chance, phenomenal organization that helps low-income children. And maybe, Monica, you want to say something quick about your organization? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Monica Martin, and I am a board member of Project Fighting Chance. And I did hear something a little bit about Boys and Girls Club. That's kind of the premise of what we've put together for the youth, giving a place to go after school, kind of like the CAPS program, but we're taking it a little bit farther with a boxing program, nutrition classes, and giving them some kind of direction as to what they want to do with their lives. So we are very thankful that we have people like Jimmy John's helping us out, because we're a nonprofit and we need everybody's help. Every dollar counts. So thank you.
So, so Rick Darnell, this guy right here, he's one of my partners as well. You want to say something, Rick?
I'm Rick Darnell with the NBA Retired Players Association for Southern California. We've been coming out the last 3 or 4 years doing some camps, working with the kids, and we're committed to come out because a lot of our players are retired. Brian Russell, Corey Benjamin, Joaquin Hawkins want to come back and give back something to the community. And so we're working with Ryan to do camps, mentoring, and donating goods to help the community. So we're here to help you guys.
Very good.
So, yeah, we're pushing these sponsorships and these partnerships as hard as we can because we really just want to help the community. So anyway, we're going to be doing a lot of work with them in the future. And today we wanted to, in front of City Council and everyone, give them this certificate. They just won a bunch of national championships, and they're kicking tail in the boxing field.
Coming out of San Bernardino, boys that are 13 and 14 that are getting gold medals, silver medals out of the Junior Olympics, and Paris 2020, here we come. San Bernardino is going back on the map, and we're doing it.
So there you go, Monica. Thank you very much. We're very excited for our relationship.
Thank you for being a champion in our community.
And support them, everybody. Great foundation.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right. At this time, we will close the blue cards and accept all yellow cards.
Mayor,
These are items on the agenda.
may I address before public speaking?
Councilmember Barr.
Yes, for our public that's watching us right now, please know that we have received an amount of additional documentation that was not provided on our website. I did request that any information that we're receiving to be posted on our website, and it has not. This was done over the weekend. So just know that if you do talk on those items that are missing or have outdated information, I'll tell you what they are. Item 13, item 21, the animal shelter, of course. Item 22, no, I'm just saying that this is additional information that was not in the original agenda for our public to view over the weekend since it was released on Friday. And this is, if anybody was here early, we had paperwork in front of us. How are we supposed to review anything that's presented to us right as we're going to start a meeting? So I just want to let you know that we have received additional information that was provided, then was what was provided online. I just want to be transparent to you guys so you understand where we stand. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have 27 yellow cards and 28 now. We do have a very long agenda tonight. And I see that there's a large number of people that would like to address the council on the items on the agenda. My goal is certainly to ensure that we have public contributions and comments here. I ask that you please limit your conversations to the point, and you're not all required to use your 3 minutes. That is certainly how we can accommodate you, but we ask that you help us out here. 27 items, so you do the math, and we'd be here about over an hour. Our first speaker is Alice Chow, followed by Summer Stewart, followed by Jack Lamardis. Ms. Chow, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
Hello, council members, mayor. Alice Chow with San Bernardino Animal Care Organization. On Tuesday, we attempted to meet with the mayor, his chief of staff, the police department officials who oversee the shelter, and the city manager. What we were told during that meeting is that the decision has been made to contract out shelter services to a public agency, Riverside, and that the city would love for us to open an adoption center. When we attempted to suggest alternatives to the Riverside proposal, including fixing and providing funds in order to refurbish the current shelter, we were told by the police department representatives that our proposal was rejected. This was without them asking about or even seeing the contents of the bid that we had prepared last fall to fix the shelter temporarily, with the understanding that we would need to raise funds for a new permanent building. When we asked for more detail between budgeted and actual spent numbers, our concerns were deflected, and we were told our attorney was not likely able to read a balance sheet. For example, press releases constantly cite budget overages at the shelter and lack of funds, but the actual numbers regarding dollars spent on personnel for administration are running $300,000 under budget. We have tracked the numbers for the 5 budgets for 5 years. While the numbers of animals served and their care have declined, the costs are rising. Something doesn't add up. Where is that money going? Back to a general fund? The Riverside proposal obtained by the city manager and the police personnel is a cost savings to the shelter only when benchmarked against the budgeted numbers, but not the actual dollars being spent on the animals and personnel who are running the shelter. We're happy to have our attorney sit down with city personnel to better understand the perspective and to go through those numbers in detail, but they have no interest in doing so. Why are city personnel afraid of transparency? Isn't that what's best for San Bernardino, the residents, the council, the staff, and most importantly, the animals? Therefore, we are calling for a transparent RFP process which will allow for proposals from all potential agencies and all potential partners to comprehensively address the animal welfare issues in San Bernardino. Contracting out to Riverside County without transparency or accountability doesn't solve the animal welfare problem in San Bernardino. It just moves it somewhere else, especially if it's done in a manner lacking in transparency, accountability, and with great secrecy. We urge the council to require the city to provide for a comprehensive RFP process for administration, shelter, and field services over the next 3 months. An RFP should be drafted over the next month with the help of a committee based on the 2014 model used by the city. A fair and open, transparent process needs to be undertaken. As part of that process, the current staff need to provide greater transparency of the city actual operating numbers during an initial meeting with potential bidders. They have to be willing to answer questions about budgets directly and not deflect or attempt to simply say we don't understand. After the open proposal process, then the council and the mayor can choose the best option for everyone concerned. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Summer Stewart, followed by Jack Lamardis, followed by Mona Harnish. Ms. Stewart, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good evening. My name's Summer Stewart, and I've spoken here before. But for those of you who don't know, I work in San Bernardino at an animal hospital as a registered veterinary technician. And what I'm basically just going to summarize this as is if the shelter closes and we outsource to Riverside, I think I know there's going to be a lot more problems than you could even try to think up in this moment right now. Besides the questions of, are they going to add more kennel space? Are they going to hire more animal control officers? Are they going to buy more trucks? I'm digressing, but besides all those those issues that I mentioned, we see a lot of people at my animal hospital every single week, countless numbers of people that come in with puppies, pit bulls, chihuahuas. I mean, a lot of different breeds that they are planning on breeding. I'm not allowed to go into depth at my job about the laws of San Bernardino or of California, so I have to keep it to a minimum. But we're all aware, I think, of the April 2007 mandate that all pets over the age of 4 months need to be spayed and neutered. That's obviously to cut down on the overpopulation of animals in the city. So on top of all that, we have these people coming in. They don't care what we say. They're going to breed anyways, no matter what. And then do we have people that are going to go out and fine these people for not following that 2007 mandate? Because at one of the meetings a couple of months ago, I think you guys had said that there was no one in that position. So I don't know, as of right now, the updated info on that, if we do have some more animal control officers to ticket those people. But if we don't, we're just continuing to circulate the problem. So on top of these people coming in and continuing to overpopulate the community, whether they know or they don't know of the issues going on with the San Bernardino shelter, we're going to be dealing also with the problem of people coming in, if there's no shelter, coming into animal hospitals all around here and dumping animals off that they maybe find on the streets or maybe they don't want anymore. They're not going to drive to Riverside. They're not. I've spoken to many people at my job that come in and out of there, and they barely have money to make it to our hospital down the street from where they live. They're not going to drive to Riverside. I'm telling you, they're not. So we're going to have more problems than not. San Bernardino is too big to not have its own shelter. It's too big. And why wouldn't we want our own shelter and be proud of it and show our children that animals are the most pure form of life? Like, all they did was be born, didn't commit a crime.
Our next speaker is Jacqueline Martis, followed by Mona Harnish. Jacqueline? Moving on to Mona Harnish. Jacqueline? Okay, I have a Jacqueline Martis or a Mona Harnish. Mona? Welcome.
When they mentioned that it's not just locally, this is talked, I've had two friends call me from Sacramento and Modesto saying, what's going on with the animal shelter? I don't know what's being put out there, but it's being heard all over the state. I've also had a friend from Oregon mention the same thing. Upland is partnered with the Friends of Animals back in 2016 to help run the shelter. They assist with finding foster homes and grooming and getting those adopted out, and it's working very well. I think we need to look at that model. Also, the shelter's supposed to have 12 free adoption days a year. Last year, I know of one. There hasn't been one yet. We're already 6 weeks into the year, and there hasn't even one scheduled now. If they want to get rid of the animals, they can have free adoption days and get them out there. I also have been emailing the city council mayors. I never get any response. Please dialogue with your constituents. We want to help the city be great again, and we're willing to put in the work. I volunteer 1 day a week, but I need to get some feedback of what's going on to do that. And lastly, I'd like to thank the police for protecting us, and they are helping clean up the city. They got that trailer out of the wash there, and I see every day things they're doing. I know there's more coming in, but I appreciate the help that they're doing and working to do that for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harnish. Our next speaker is Paige Miller, followed by Shirley Harlan, followed by Rory Murray.
That was quick. All right, you need some questions to answer and some information. So I support and encourage mayor and council to consider the proposal coming forth from Alice Chow and her group, San Bernardino Animal Care Organization, as a viable option to consider. It will maintain some city employees with the benefit of animal rescue professionals and community engagement. Maybe one of the new positions that you're looking at, Mr. Mayor, maybe that person should be tasked with an oversight and relieve that off of the police department. Yes, we support the police department as well. So there's a way to make this work, but you need some answers and you need to ask some questions. Licensed general contractor, you need a line-by-line bid from a general contractor to repair and make shelter improvements out of the already existing shelter improvement fund of $642,000. The only figure that we keep hearing is 18 million, 18 million, 18 million. Not attainable, not attainable, not attainable at this point in time. So where are we and what can we do? We need an accurate bid from a real general contractor so that that could possibly be an interim improvement and be covered by the shelter fund. Also, please ask if the city manager has any additional shelter funds. There used to be a couple of other ones. The spay-neuter fund, the vaccinations, and the shelter donations fund. At one time, a couple of years ago, that was an additional $200,000. Again, where the money, the funds, the answers to your questions. What are the real figures, not 18 million? Spay-neuter mobiles, Animal Action League out in the Banning area used to come and be welcomed to do mobile on-site spay-neuters throughout the city on a regular basis. Has any of that been pursued recently? Not from what we've heard. When you hear about the intake numbers and euthanasia rates, they're not the real numbers. These folks that are on the rescue groups are out there intercepting those numbers in the parking lots before they come to the shelter's attention and to your numbers and attentions. It's a lot more dismal. And thank you to all your hard work on the rescue groups here on the front lines. The numbers entering the Riverside group will be even higher, and I'm not sure what the accurate euthanasia rate. It would be great if somebody would actually level with us. I just got a number on the cat euthanasia, and it ain't pretty. So is that the truth or is it not the truth? And I don't have the insight and those relationships. The Animal Control Commission meetings, I can tell you, I've attended several of them. It was excruciating. I would strongly suggest, as I have before, that you have a city attorney or perhaps a council member attend and help guide your commissioners. They want to do the right thing, but they are stifled at every turn. Can we talk about this? No, it has to be on the agenda. No, it's not agendized. No, that's a violation of the Brown Act. They would like to be able to do something on your behalf. They have been stymied for 6 months. Is somebody wearing this down? So hopefully this issue will go away. It ain't going to go away, folks. So perhaps with enough stalling, this one-year extension will die. Thank you.
Time is up.
If the shelter's closed, where's that money going to?
Our next speaker is Shirley Harlan.
Mayor, through the chair.
Yes, Councilman
Just a quick comment, and again, for clarification to Mr. Olson's question, and I'm seeing it myself. Apparently, you get 3 minutes for public comments and 3 minutes for items on the agenda. So a total of 6 minutes. That's just, that's what I'm seeing. I don't know if it's been approved by anybody, but that's what apparently is the policy now.
Ms. Harlan, go ahead. You're recognized on item number 15. Shirley Harlan.
No, that's not true. That's not been what I've seen at other council meetings. They've had
It's
3
and
minutes
3.
on each.
Ms. Harlan, please proceed. You're recognized for 3 minutes. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm speaking on 15 to make this meeting start at 7 o'clock. As I've said before, I've been at many of these meetings and watched the process. And I notice that regardless of who you are on the council, when it gets pretty late, your discussion and what you are trying to approve gets very weak because, one, you haven't eaten. The other is that you hurry up to try to pass something. So you say, so you vote yes, but you haven't discussed it. And, you know, I've been here from 4 o'clock to almost 1 or 2. I'm 89 years old, and I'm going to continue to come to these meetings to watch the process, because that's what I try to help you understand in your new roles as council members and management. And I do not approve of the meeting starting at 7. They usually about 5 or 6 hours. That's going to get us from 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, not having a meal, that kind of thing, and you're not at your best. So I do not approve of that time to have the meetings. Maybe you have businesses that you work, and this is the time you can do it. But by golly, when you took the position, you knew what the times were, and you have other meetings that relate to the region and things to attend to. And that's your work right now, and that's your income right now, because it went up quite a bit. So that's what I have to say on that one. And the other thing, since I do have a little time left, Henry, you mentioned corporate. A corporate, I forget what the second, what? A paradigm. Okay. That probably has been true since the 80s, and we use it a lot in the management, which would be Andrea's, the CEOs. But when you're in government and it's our money and you're representing us, it's not the same thing in terms of how you think about your job. And I want to make that, I'm not a professor, I haven't studied this, but you know, I've been around a long time, and I've been a member of earning my living in government. And I recognize what my role was when I took the vow that you all take. I never gave it up. So that's why you still got me around here and still trying to understand and help you to understand what your job is as a government, a person elected by the public. You do not manage with as a corporate. What is the word again?
Paradigm.
Paradigm. You recognize you've been elected by the public. And you're spending our tax money. And it's not to get the bottom line, it's
Thank you,
to
Ms. Harlan.
serve the
Your
public.
time is up. Our next speaker is Rory Murray, followed by Jessica Lopez, followed by Carmel Rowe. Mr. Murray, welcome.
I'm here to speak on agenda number 25. I love Corona. I grew up in Corona. It's a wonderful city. But God forbid if my dog gets out, I don't want to drive to Corona to pick him up. I also don't want my dog dying in an animal control vehicle if it's stuck in traffic on the 215 freeway. A lot of people are low income here in San Bernardino. Instead of moving our facility and closing it down, we should encourage more spay and neuter, low-cost spay and neuter clinics, more microchipping. Let's get a handle on this problem. Every time an agency or facility is outsourced or closed down, it's another knife in the heart of San Bernardino. And we've got a lot of caring people here. Please don't kill our animals. We need a state-of-the-art animal control center here. This is the county seat. We deserve it. Outsourcing to Riverside County is just a bad idea. I hope it's not a done deal because it's a very poor decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Lopez?
Good evening. My name is Jessica Lopez, and I'm the Executive Director of PAW Mission. I wanted to come to you guys and give you guys a few facts. I know that the last council, I gave the same facts. So currently, Riverside County is the poorest performing municipal shelter in California. Their live save rate is roughly 65%. From the city of Colton, we know that 86% of their cats are euthanized when they go to Riverside. So these are statistics that we already know that you can look up on their website. While I do not support fully outsourcing the shelter out to Riverside, I do believe that there is some merit in the possibility of having an adoption center that can also function as a holding facility in the interim during the hold or stray period for the public. That way it does address the issues of people not being able to find their pets, us still being able to allow rescues to pull from the holding facility or the adoption center, and to help decrease the animals going out to Riverside. I also would say that if this is something that you guys are considering, that you might also want to renegotiate the contract with Riverside versus a per animal or a generic number of animals that are going out there, to contract with them and do it per animal versus a generic number of 7,500 roughly going out there. That way it does save the city a lot more money, as well as keeping a lot more of the services in-house and addressing a lot of the public's issues with it. The other things that you can also attribute, if you partner with a nonprofit that has experience in veterinary medicine, you can also provide a nonprofit veterinary organization that will also allow free spay and neuter, subsidized spay and neuter, and wellness services. This is a community service, and there's a direct correlation between community service in regards to people with animals. So I do hope that you take that into consideration and not completely outsource the animals out to Riverside. I think that while they have put a stake in the ground that they would like to get to no kill, their goal for 2019 is for a live save rate for their cats to be at 65%. So it's not going to change anytime soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. Carmel Rowe?
So I wanted to talk about the shelter and the cannabis. I wanted to say that, I read through the shelter proposal, and I think it was option 2. No, that was the mayor. But I read through everything on the shelter, and it was the 18 million and this and that, and you know, it all sounded good. But at the same time, I've sat up here time and time again and let you guys know that these animals, this shelter, is the love of San Bernardino. Like, are we saying that San Bernardino doesn't need any love? Because when I get off the freeway, it sure seems like San Bernardino needs a whole lot of love. Okay, and I mean, these people show up meeting after meeting after meeting where most of our citizens don't even show up. Like, people from all over the county show up here. I mean, we said 18 million, but I heard the lady like 2 meetings ago say, money's no object, I'll pay for the shelter. She said, just whatever dollar, I'll pay for it. She looked like she had enough money to do it. I don't think she would have stood up here and and she was dead on it. You know, so maybe if we're going to regionalize, maybe let's let San Bernardino be the region, and let's make some money from our animals, because this is the love we need. I mean, we need this love in our city. So I think that we should do a service to our animals and to our people and to all this love, and I think, like, we should give them their way. We should try it their way, because all the ways that San Bernardino has tried it has got us here. Maybe San Bernardino's way isn't the best way. Maybe somebody else's way is the best way. And then let me bring up to the cannabis issue. Okay, we had this whole election and we all voted, and I'm looking at the ordinance, and I got a message from somebody saying, hey, the FBI is investigating, and they're investigating cannabis, and it's the same people looking at Adelanto. So I'm sitting here, are we already taking bribes? Or maybe we're not. Maybe we did. And I just want to say that I think that the ordinance that was passed, I believe that it gave you guys the power to make changes without taking it to a vote. And I think before we approve any cannabis application, we make the necessary changes. We put in there for equity for like hometown people, you know, equity, you know how they've been doing if you're an equity partner or this or that, because I don't think cannabis should just come in and be run by a bunch of suits. I think that there's people who pave the way. And I think that before we approve any of those applications, we kick them all back and we start over, and we actually have the foundation of what we're doing to where everybody is on board, because the feds, they said we should all work together. That's exactly what they said. I heard it. And last but not least, if we are going to start doing cannabis in the city and we are going to actually tax it, let's put 1% of that tax, or 0.5% or 1/4. Let's give it to the dogs. Let's fund the dogs. Period. Thanks. Outside the box.
Ms. Rowe, that's very creative. That is, and I'm genuine, sincere. That's creative. I didn't even think of that one. Thank you, Ms. Rowe. Debbie Yoakum, followed by Alberta Vanetz, followed by Treasurer Ortiz. Ms. Yoakum, welcome. Go ahead, ma'am. You're recognized for 3 minutes. Please
Hi, my
proceed.
name is Debbie Yoakum. My sister is handing out a citation I received from Riverside County Animal Services, Animal Control. My dog Astra was being fined $750 for no other reason than the County of Riverside made a mistake on addressing. They sent the notice to the wrong address. It took a while, but we found out when this happened, and we came in and we tried to fix the mistake. They said because I didn't pay the fee immediately that I would be charged $750. I asked why so much, and I was told that that was just the way they did it. When I asked for a list of fees, she told me this isn't McDonald's. I got that, but I didn't agree with her. I'm a resident of Riverside, and I feel like I'm going to McDonald's every time I go to the animal shelter. The sign outside this shelter should say 3 million served, because they take so many dogs from so many jurisdictions. I'm a resident of Riverside. I pay taxes and the fees to the county, but yet I have to share my shelter with all the other cities and counties that surround me. This isn't fair to me, and it isn't fair to the animals that are brought into the shelter. It isn't fair to the people that come in from other jurisdictions either. I didn't pay the $750 fee, but it took 3 visits to the shelter to get them to agree that I didn't have to pay the fee. Even with all the visits, I still had received notice that the county is still listing my dog as an unaltered male. They are overwhelmed, and for very good reason. They are not a shelter. They are a conveyor belt of animals flowing into a building where the animals are displayed, in some cases kept behind walls in other cases. The fact that the shelter was built in a location that's not convenient to any freeway or any accessible road, it makes it hard on everyone. It makes it hard on the seniors. It makes it hard on the single parents. It makes it hard on all of us. The county, Riverside, San Bernardino. The county is in the business of collecting fees for dogs that are lost and surrendered by the owners. If they cannot keep correct records for people like me, a resident of Riverside County, how can they expect it to keep proper records for others, like in jurisdiction of City of Riverside? The City of Riverside, the San Bernardino County council members were elected to be the ears, eyes, and the voices of the people of San Bernardino. How can you hand over your jobs and tax money to the people in Riverside County? The shelter here is special. It's exceptional. And because of the volunteers that are here, you have been blessed with a community that wants to promote a thriving shelter environment, and that's what's going to make you a success. I'm a mom of 6 children. I don't want to raise my kids to think that money is the most important thing. I want to make them an accountable adults, and I want them to be part of your community and my community. Give it a try. Take the advantage of the resource that is your people that love their shelter. Be a success story. Be proud of what you have. Don't give it away. Think outside the box. You have the people here that are willing to help you. You can work as a team to be a success, and I can see that it's possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alberta Vanetz, followed by Treasurer Ortiz. Alberta, you're recognized for 3 minutes. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Bertie Vanetz. I'm a resident of San Bernardino. I would like to speak on keeping the shelter open here in San Bernardino. As a resident, I do not want my tax dollars going to Riverside for services we need here in San Bernardino. Having a permanent local city-run shelter is what we need. I have heard council members say what a wonderful state-of-the-art facility the shelter at Riverside is. And if we loved our animals, we would want them there instead of the rundown SBC shelter. Why would you try to make us citizens feel bad because we would rather have a service locally instead of having to drive to claim our pets? What about seniors or families without transportation? Would you good people offer to take them to get their pets? Not only will we be paying higher fees to get our pets back, but with the high prices in gas these days, how is that fair to us residents? There will be more stray dogs and cats out in the streets. People will be dumping everywhere. I can't even imagine how much worse driving around here will be with more animal versus car accidents. It'll be just like third world conditions over here, not the world-class city we are supposed to be. I also wonder, who do we write or call in San Bernardino if there's a problem? Riverside doesn't care about our residents, but our money is paying for their services. You want residents to become homeowners, not renters. Why is San Bernardino City acting like a renter with its city agencies? San Bernardino Shelter has volunteers and rescues who are in the parking lot and lobby daily helping pet owners. They provide food, pay medical bills, pay fees to bail out their pets because the owners can't afford to. They not only rescue pets but help rehome them so they don't go into the shelter at all. That doesn't happen in Riverside. The shelter isn't something you can outsource to another city. This is a city service that requires love and compassion. It is not who can charge us less for taking our trash. These are lives and relationships. The survival and revival of our animal shelter is one of those crucial moments. It is a sign that San Bernardino itself is resurrecting. It shows that the city can take something that was a negative and turn it into a positive. Think of all who show up at city council meetings to put actions where their mouths are, and the many more who support those efforts. If city leaders turn a deaf ear, in the end, to the voices of what appears to be the vast majority of San Bernardino residents, leaders will deliver yet another blow to city morale and to confidence in city leadership. More residents will be left to wonder if things will ever get better here. The council members voted to give the volunteers and rescues 1 year and now are going back on their promise. If you vote to get rid of the city shelter, then the first vote and promise was a lie. How can anyone trust a politician who lies? Please listen to us residents and do what is right. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Treasurer Ortiz. So Ortiz, you're recognized for 3 minutes.
So I'm speaking about 27, which is City Hall and the assessment. So when looking at the agenda item, I'm a little confused as to why we needed to spend money to tell us that a building that was built in 1974 is out of date. That's kind of
we know it. The ADA's, we know we're in violation of ADA because rules have changed. We know that it wasn't structurally sound, built on 2 pillars when we have seismic activity. So I hope as we move forward, we look at a real plan to bring people in here who are used to working with 1970s built buildings for seismic activity. We're not the only city in the world to have one. LA's done it, and they've done a lot of retrofitting. To see everything torn down and rebuilt seems a lot more expensive than actually putting in the dedicated work to bring actual consultants who work on this stuff to make a real assessment to save us money in the end. So, thank you.
Our next speaker is Luis Ojeda, followed by Jana Marcusi and Dorothy Garcia. Luis?
Thank you. I just wanted to talk about this as we all care about this issue, but earlier I mentioned that sometimes we tend to vote for temporary solutions. But let's talk about, let's say we decide to close the shelter, move it to the Riverside, and then Riverside decides to say, you know what, we're not going to charge $150 per animal, we're going to charge $500. At that particular moment, we don't have a shelter no more. So what do? We pay, we chop around for another location.
Excuse me, Mr. Ojeda, you had marked, indicated 24, which is council's or staffing issue.
Well, I put both.
I have 24. Would
Well, you
speak to
have
item
25 as well. Okay, all right, I talk about that one. You got the other one there too. So I can speak for both.
Please proceed, sir.
All right.
Item 24.
24, okay. Talking about item 24, let me say that the good thing about the discussion that we have on the last meeting, it was the first I was against it, 100%. I didn't like it the way it was presented. It was the way it was brought up. But listening to different council members, the deliberation, the discussions, and different ideas from different council members and staff and the city attorney, I was swayed to be for this staffing for the council and the mayor. And the reason is that I don't want no excuses. So now you said that you need help, the council need help. Okay, let's get you guys help. So hopefully next time around, we're not going to be talking about, well, we couldn't do it because we were shorthanded, because that's the excuse that we always get. So I'm for this. So hopefully the people that is going to get the help, use it wisely, okay? And let's stop the political games, because honestly, since the beginning of the year, that's what I have seen. I haven't seen any proposals to say, okay, how we're going to solve the problem of homelessness, of the crime, of the lack of businesses coming into the city. It's all about political agendas. And to be honest with you, if this is what's going to take for you to get the city out of the hole, let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hilda Wetland, followed by Gina Escobar, followed by Deb Matley. Hilda, you're recognized. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I'm not an animal person, but I am a business person, and I love math, and math has to make sense. It's the only thing that my dad told me makes sense in every country around the world when I was in Cuba. So, question is, you have a shelter. I mean, you don't have a police department. If you don't have a shelter, next thing you don't have a council, you don't have a mayor. I mean, what's this city going to come to? So, math. If you have a shelter right now, what would it take to fix it? Okay, so you do one estimate, 2 estimates, 3 estimates. Is that possible? Is that possible to do a couple of estimates? Then the estimates come in. Let's say the estimate is $500,000 to hold the shelter until the rescue community can do something. You need to give them 3 years. You cannot tell the rescue community that they're going to build an $18 million center. These people are the life of the city. They're rescuing pets. Now, Can we do that? Can we get 2 or 3 estimates on this shelter? Can you be the regional center? Why is it that San Bernardino tends to no fire department, no shelter, no city, no council, no mayor? I mean, where are you going with this? So things have to make sense. Now, Riverside, there was a lady here from Riverside. Riverside is a beautiful city. It has a beautiful downtown. If I was a citizen of Riverside, and I'm sure 10,000 of them are listening, whenever I turn in my pet in Riverside, I will just say that I'm a citizen of San Bernardino. Because after all, San Bernardino already declared bankruptcy. After all, San Bernardino already became a servant to Riverside. If I was a citizen of Riverside, I would sure like to keep my city, so I wouldn't like that shelter to charge me to charge the city. I'll just say I'm a citizen of San Bernardino. Who's going to keep accountability of this? Because I hope if you move the shelter, Riverside citizens claim to be citizens of San Bernardino, and you get the bill. I hope so, because you get what you deserve. You cannot give up a shelter. It's a shelter. When families can't feed their children, they come together. They don't give it to the neighbor and then tell the neighbors, here's $2, feed them. That's not the way families work. Math has to make sense. Now, when we don't have a shelter, there are going to be pets all over the city. Of course, in the poor communities, it's not like we can instruct the poor communities to take them, let's say, to North San Bernardino or to the areas where council members vote to close the shelter. We're not going to instruct them on that. Don't worry, city manager, we're not going to tell them to take them to your city either. We have to fix the shelter, please. It just makes math sense. 2 estimates, give the rescue community a chance to be a shelter.
Thank you, Ms. Wetland. Gina Escobar, you're recognized for 3 minutes. Ms. Escobar, followed by Deb Matley. Welcome.
Good evening, Council and attended audience. My name is Gina Escobar, and I just wanted to talk on behalf of item number 22 when it comes to cannabis. I want to thank the Council for spearheading this, especially in this area. It is very important that, communities see that, this is already an issue in your community. Are you going to let it take over your community, or are you going to embrace it? There's wonderful things going on in the community, and like I've mentioned before to this council, you have a very thankless and a selfless job. It takes more than just being here twice a month for your meetings, dealing with your constituents and your incumbents, and, just doing the day-to-day chores what it is to be a council member, a mayor pro tem, vice mayor, and a mayor. So I just wanted to thank you so much on behalf of the people out here in the San Bernardino County for being the pioneer in this, and I look forward to seeing the development and the type of organizations and the operators that this community will have in order to better themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deb Matley, followed by Majid Siraj, followed by Victor Munoz. Ms. Matley, welcome.
Hello. I love animals. As anyone on my Facebook page knows, I am devoted to my menagerie. This city does not have a good record of successful outsource contracts. If you do decide to outsource, you need to hire a professional who specializes in outsource contracts. The overages that we've had on the other ones and the mistakes are just ridiculous, and they're being borne by the citizens of this community. We're the ones that pay for the mistakes that are written in those contracts. Let's see, that said, the outsourcing of the San Bernardino Animal Shelter, in my opinion, is a bad idea. I believe that you have not thought this through completely. The shelter is here to serve the citizens of San Bernardino. By relocating the shelter to Riverside, you are impacting your constituents adversely. I was told in the meeting today that this shelter is a holding facility for pets of homeless who are going into a shelter themselves to become non-homeless. This could impact a homeless person's decision to abandon their pet while seeking shelter, thus putting more homeless or keeping those homeless on our streets. Also, how are constituents who do not have cars or work multiple jobs supposed to get to Riverside to get their pets that have gotten loose? Not everyone can just hop in their car and pick up their pet. There's a lot of people in the area that I live in that don't have cars, that rely on buses, or they are working multiple jobs and can't get there in time to get their pets. That's going to raise our euthanasia rates. Also, I believe that the police department should be relieved of this responsibility, and this should be given to an independent manager. The police department is here to police our city. They are not here to babysit our pets. We need someone that is going to focus independently on that shelter and bring it to where it needs to be. This weekend, there was a council person that put a request out or a plea out for tarps because there's leaking on the animals with this weather. I dropped some off. I heard they went up. I hope they did. But why are there not tarps already on those roofs? We knew this rain was coming. Why are we putting these animals at risk? It isn't good. And we're supposed to be, at least at this point, taking care of them, even if we haven't outsourced it yet. You know, we need to be responsible. We expect people to be responsible for their pets. You guys need to be responsible for those pets that are in that shelter. Thank you.
Jana Marcusi. Ms. Marcusi, my apologies. I saw you there, the periphery, and I researched it, and I called you, but then I left, and so it's my bad. Ms. Marcusi, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Tonight I want to talk to you about the shelter, but business tourism. The city shelter intake is around 7,000 animals annually. Thanks to the hard work of volunteers and networking, about 45% of the shelter animals are taken into rescues. That adds up to approximately 3,200 animals rescued each year. This means that at the very least, 3,200 people come into the city of San Bernardino who would have no other reason to come. With all due respect, these people are not homeless. They're not of criminal element, and they're not panhandlers. They are that are pushing the businesses out of the city. These rescuers that come are good, upstanding people, many from out of town, with jobs. And to be frank, they spend their money rescuing animals. So they come from San Diego, Orange County, San Fernando Valley, Northern California, as far away as Arizona, Oregon, Washington State, and even Canada. Once the animal is out of the shelter, their priority is to get it to the closest veterinarian, which would be in San Bernardino. They stay in San Bernardino hotels, and they eat in San Bernardino restaurants. And when the animal's ready to travel back with them, they fill their gas tanks in San Bernardino gas stations. They patronize the city's businesses. So the shelter brings in money to all these businesses, which generates revenues for the city. If there's no city shelter, then that revenue is gone. Where will San Bernardino residents take these unwanted or injured animals? They'll end up on the streets, which no business owner wants, as people don't want to see sick and stray animals where they shop and work. Or they'll be dumped at veterinary hospitals, who before long will find it's not cost-effective having their businesses in San Bernardino and are going to move their businesses to other cities. In closing, I just wanted to say, if your goal is to bring businesses back to San Bernardino, please do more partnering with rescues. Don't get rid of the shelter, and don't overlook the indirect yet substantial revenue that the shelter brings to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Majid Siraj, followed by Victor Muniz and Herbert Estrada. Mr. Siraj, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I just have some random thoughts on item number 22, which is cannabis related. And I'm not, hopefully, not one of those suits that Carmel Rowe was talking about. This is the only time I wear a suit. Most of the time, I'm in a lab coat. I've attended just about every cannabis-related council meeting, and even when I've been traveling on vacations, I've been watching it online, and that doesn't go over too well with my wife. But I've been a pharmacist for 22 years, 12 years at Loma Linda Medical Center. I now have a lab in Redlands. I do formulation chemistry and formulation work. So we have a pending license before the city for a micro business to do pharmaceutical-related work. Quick introduction by myself. A quick policy update, the Office of Administrative Law, so the cannabis rules are no longer under emergency conditions as of about January 16th. They've been signed off by the Office of Administrative Law. But the regulators gave final seal of approval for statewide delivery of cannabis. So that means cannabis can come into San Bernardino from just about anywhere. That could be a blessing or a curse. It changes the dynamic and competitive landscape of local retailers. Next, I want to kind of walk you through a personal journey that's taken about a year to where we are, and I'm delighted that this process is just about over. We submitted our application June 25th. On August 31st, we got a denial from the city of San Bernardino. The denial said that you scored 30.67%. After submitting a 114-page application and lots of personal money invested. I've taken a lot of tests in my life, graduate school and undergraduate school, and I know when I scored 30% and when I don't score 30%. The denial said you were lacking various things. I won't bore you with what. So my attorney and I talked. She said it's not missing, it's lacking. So we were parsing words. What is lacking versus what is missing? My wife said, don't do it, get your life back. My attorney said, don't do it, it's over. I went against the advice of both of them. I don't encourage anybody else to do that, so we filed an appeal. I wrote it myself. I didn't have my attorney write it, I wrote it myself. In December 21st, I received a letter. Upon receiving notice of your appeal, staff again reviewed your initial submittal, determined whether the application included all required components. We determined that although the electronic copy of your application lacked the required components, and we contest that, the paper copies of your application included all 5 required components. It took 96 days. The city by statute had 90 days to get back to us and give us 10 days to prepare for the appeal.
Mr. Siraj, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Victor Munoz, followed by Herbert Estrada. Mr. Munoz, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I'm Victor Munoz. I wasn't going to say anything in the beginning, but I decided to now. I just wanted to say I've been in the cannabis industry for over 13 years. This is the closest I've ever gotten to licensing. I've been involved in many, many cities that have taken years and years and ended up with nothing. I really appreciate the hard work that you guys have been doing. I really appreciate everything you guys have been putting into it, being real thorough, making sure we don't get the knuckleheads. That's it. I just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Estrada, welcome. Item number 25. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Just want to talk on behalf of the shelter. Let me begin to backtrack about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I got a stroke, and I've been in disability since. Unfortunately, in last week, I have to turn in my 2 dogs into the shelter, and sadly, they couldn't take them, and that's when I learned that the shelter was going to close down. I urge you, please, don't shut down the shelter, because we need it. I've been living in the San Bernardino City for the last 23 years. I've been paying my taxes, and I don't think it's going to be fair for me if I were to find out that the shelter closes and have to drive all the way to Riverside to turn it in, because I don't want to have the heart to live on the street. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ojeda, you have a speaker slip on 25. Would you like to address the council on your item?
You found it?
Sir, if you'd like to, your time is ticking. Go.
Thank you. Appreciate
Welcome.
it. Appreciate it, Mayor. Well, I mean, I was saying that I'm just looking at this as an economical perspective, and I also love animals. I love my dog, and I've been to the shelter before. We went to adopt one dog once, and I think yes, it needs work. It needs to be repaired, but at the same time, it's something that one of the few things that I think we can save in the city. Not only that it's going to be convenient for the residents, but also for the pride. Because, like I say, if Riverside, let's say, one day decided to renege on their contract, or cancel the contract, or raise their prices, we don't have options. I know that there's two different information that we get here: the public information and the information that you have at your closed meetings. And even though we don't have all the details of the reasons and whys, I'm just going based on my poor knowledge, and forgive my ignorance if I'm not aware of all the facts. I'm just talking about just thinking as a business, and also as convenience in the public, and also on the animal welfare, that it would be, in my personal opinion, it would be better to try to save the shelter for all the above reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ojeda. This time, we're moving on to our consent calendar. I'll poll each council member for any polls, starting with Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes, I'd like to pull number 21. Yes, I'd like to pull item 21 from the
Very
consent
good.
calendar.
Is that all?
I'd like to also make a comment on payroll. That is all.
Okay, Councilmember Ibarra.
I'd like to pull items 13 and 22.
Very good. Councilman Charette?
None.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Nickel.
I have just a quick question on 11 and 18.
11 and 18. Mayor Pro Tem Richard.
None tonight.
Thank you. Councilman Mulvihill.
Pull 15 for purpose of abstention.
All right. And Madam City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, I had two items. You had requested additional information on item number 17. We have asked the consultant to be here, so if you'd like to pull that one
Very
for the
good.
purposes of asking your question. And then item 22 was pulled.
Very good. All right. Do I have a motion to move the balance?
I
could ask my question before we move the balance.
Sure, Councilman.
Just real quick, on item 11, I noticed there's also a small parcel, parcel 36, on packet page 130. Is that included in this transaction, or is that not?
That is not those, it's just those two parcels.
Just those two parcels, okay, that answers that question. And then on item 18, this is an extension of an existing contract, correct?
That's correct.
An amendment, okay. Because I know we brought this forward, I think, what was it, in August, or I'm trying to recall when it came here the last time.
It was, I think, August or September, maybe, and it is an extension. We found that their work was terrific. They're moving things along, but we
Okay.
do have
And
additional.
do we have
vehicles.
additional vehicles after this one that we anticipate we're going to be using this firm again? Or just questions as to whether or not we were going to go back out on the street on this, or just continue to use this firm?
I anticipate any further vehicle purchase will probably be outfitted by West Coast. They've been very responsive and quick to get the service done, work done, and they're one of the only two vendors in the region, and the other one failed to comply with the conditions of the contract.
Okay, I believe there's a motion on the floor to approve the consent calendar. If not, I'll make that motion.
To move the balance, Councilman Nickel, is there a second? Very good. Cast your vote, please. Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Item number 13 was pulled by Councilmember Ibarra. This is a resolution of the mayor regarding the vacation of portion of I Street. Councilmember Ibarra on item number 13.
Just an FYI, you skipped 8 for Sanchez.
I skipped what?
8?
I was going to make a comment on the payment batch register.
Okay. Councilmember Sanchez, please.
All right, I just want to make some note of a couple things on the payment batch register. California Consulting LLC, professional grant writing services, $5,276. California Partners for Safe Communities, professional consulting services, the amount of $14,582. and Clark Professional Consulting Services in the amount of $6,552. Ronak Dasi Consulting Services in the amount of $5,460. Joseph Fernandez Professional Services in the amount of $2,150. We also have pro staff consulting services fees in the amount of $650, and then $1,300. Ralph Anderson and Associates professional consulting services in the amount of $8,625, and then an additional $8,625. Elisa Marie Stipovic consulting services in the amount of $5,000. Wireless Guys, Inc., consulting services in the amount of $1,267. That's it.
Councilmember Barr, item number 13, you pulled it. Go ahead, ma'am.
Just real quick, maybe staff can clarify. I saw that they only paid the $2,000 for the vacation, but there's 3 streets that they're vacating. Does the $2,000, is this an exemption to this property because of how many lots they have, or why are we not charging them the $2,000 per street?
It's not a cost per street, it's actually for the analysis. It covers the cost of the analysis. And we can't recover more than the actual cost for us to provide the analysis on this item and make recommendations to you.
Okay, that was all.
Okay.
Do I have a motion to move for approval on 13?
So moved.
Second. You cast your vote, please.
Can we go? I'm simple.
17 items.
Motion was made by Councilmember Mulvihill, second by Councilmember Charette. Approved unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 15 was pulled by Councilman Mulvihill.
Yes. I pull it for purpose of extension, but just let me make a statement. I have no problem with the times being changed or the dates, but the point is that, after receiving a 2,200% increase in wages, we're taking 4 recesses, 1 for each season, spring recess, summer recess, and because the winter and fall recess, we're not going to meet between early December and mid-January. From my point of view, we've got work to do, and we're being paid more to do it. And I just, if nothing else, the citizens have comments that they want to make. And so, again, I'm abstaining because of the fact, recesses, we got work to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulvihill. If I could get a motion to approve item number 15.
I move to approve.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Second. All right. If you cast your vote, please. Item number 15. The clerk will announce it, please. Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilmember Nichols, second by Councilmember Richard. Approved 4-1 with Councilmember Charette opposed and Councilmember Mulvihill abstaining.
Okay, item number 17, the transition of deferred compensation 457, record keeper and Ms. City Manager.
Mayor, members of the council, one of the benefits that we provide to our employees is the opportunity for them to participate in deferred compensation programs. We do have an employee committee. It consists of current employees, former employees, and I think even retired employees are currently on that committee because they're investing their personal funds in this deferred compensation account that's been established by the city for their benefit and use. Rita Conrad is here. We've found some things related to this program. There's some opportunities for our employees and all those people who participate their own by investing their own dollars. So Rita's been working with this committee. They've identified some opportunities to improve the return on the investment that our employees are making, and then also address some of the fiduciary responsibilities we have. So Rita?
Mayor and Council, we do have representatives from our investment advisor here if you have any questions at SFG, and we also have a representative from the plan that we're recommending going with, but it's my understanding that you might have had some questions about our procedure for the firms we picked. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer
Thank you,
those.
Ms. Conrad. Can you provide kind of the rubric in which you did your analysis? And I understand that the committee provided or came back with some recommendations to the council. Can you walk us through those?
Yes, and let me start by saying a lot of the heavy lifting was done before I got here. I haven't had a chance to meet all of you, but I'm the interim finance director. But they started back in August, I believe, and did, actually brought an investment advisor on board, a fiduciary agent. As a sponsor of a deferred comp plan like the city is, one of the things that we were lacking is actually having somebody in that role. So one of the first things my predecessor did was to get that rectified. And then one of his first tasks, or the firm's first task, was to see if we actually had the best plan for the city, because we had been with our current plan administrator for almost 20 years. So we went through a very extensive process. We got quotes from 7 plan administrators. The term in the industry is called record keepers, but they're the plan administrators. They looked at what we get charged, different hidden fees, which the investment advisor was able to help us with, what the charges are for the plan. Also, one of the big components is what is the rate of return we can get on our fixed accounts, which about 25 million of our roughly $86 million plan relates to that. So looking at those things, looking at the customer service they could offer, because we have, right now with our current provider, we have quarterly meetings where they come and speak to the board. They help have plan reviews with the employees. They're here to help employees make decisions. So we wanted to make sure that a firm could provide that customer service to us. So there were a number of components, and then based on that, they arrived at their decision.
Very good. How many enrollees and participants do we have as active employees? Do you have that number?
No,
Roughly,
I have the
approximately?
total plan amount. Let me look to the audience here and see if they happen to know. They're getting that for us right now, so.
All right.
1,049.
1,049 active employees not retired.
These are total participants.
Mhm.
When it comes to the actual active employees, I don't have that report.
Yeah,
very
we
good.
could get that if you want that breakout.
The additional, so I did some research, Vanguard, T. Rowe Price, and Fidelity. Are there any other, did you make,
I think where the confusion comes in, and as I said, I came into this kind of when it was already, underway. There's confusion over plan administrator versus funds. There are a number of Vanguard funds that will be provided.
within the Mass Mutual
Within the Mass
structure?
Mutual. So Vanguard, as a plan administrator, they don't really have a presence in California as far as administering 457 plans, which are government plans. They are more on the corporate side, 401ks, those kind of things. So I did a little research too, just coming into it, I wanted to make sure I understood. Really where their presence in the public sector is more with school districts and 403 plans. And they really couldn't compete with the 7 firms that we sent RFPs to, especially on the fixed account interest rates.
Very good. And so since there's Vanguard funds offered via Mass Mutual,
Correct.
do you think that there's the costs associated with a middleman broker? Are there additional fees that we're paying that are exorbitant beyond what Vanguard could offer?
No.
Or even Tiacraft or T. Rowe Price or Fidelity?
We have T. Rowe Price funds in there. Actually, there's only one Mass Mutual fund, and there's, I want to say, over 30 or 40 funds, probably, a wide array. So Mass Mutual or a Vanguard, they could not advocate for you to have only their funds. That would be against their fiduciary responsibility.
So Vanguard, obviously, John Vogel created and invented the whole, in the early 1970s, the beauty of these concepts to the financial market.
Right.
So you're confident that Mass Mutual does serve our 1,049 employees who are enrolled in this?
Yes, I am. And again, to kind of ease your mind, I came into it when it was a finished product, and it was actually going to come forward in January. And I wanted to make sure I had a comfort level before coming here before all of you to make sure I understood it. So I actually spent a lot of time grilling our investment advisor and making sure that I understood the reason for the change.
Okay, and the, when do you anticipate this will be, transition will occur? The new fiscal year, or are we talking immediate?
We're talking, I think the time frame's maybe 90 days, 60 to 90 days. Yeah. 90 to 120 days.
90 to 120
Right.
days.
And they will be here to assist the city and the water department every step of the way.
Because we certainly need to give notice to all the employees, and they'll have,
Correct.
decisions to make regarding the transfers of funds and things.
So the Office of the Mayor did receive contact and correspondence from J.P. Morgan. They would like to meet with me regarding this matter, so I'm requesting that we just move to continue this matter if we could, if that's the pleasure of the council.
Point of order.
Councilman Charette.
Does the mayor have the ability to make a motion to move something or table it or whatever you?
I'm not sure
to
what the purpose of
continue
the
it?
meeting is.
Continue it?
I mean, do they want to provide some pricing to us potentially?
I wouldn't support that. I mean, if you need to meet with somebody, that's fine, but I wouldn't necessarily take this off the table tonight, and I think that we ought to do it. And I certainly think finance and the city manager should be involved in any of those meetings.
I just want to remind the council, too, that the item on the agenda is the adoption of the resolution. If you want to give staff direction, that plan a meeting, they can come back with the item, but the item on the agenda is specific.
Very good.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right. Call for the question.
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Charette, second by Councilmember Mulvihill. Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 21, Councilmember Sanchez. This is regarding City Manager Purchasing Authority. Councilman Sanchez?
Yes, so back in April of 2015, there was an amendment to the city manager's contractual spending authority. It went from $25,000 to $50,000. The recommendation was made to increase cost efficiencies by reducing administrative costs and other related staff expenses associated with taking items to council. This council has a sacred responsibility, and I was brought up here several times by speakers. We have that sacred responsibility that we make sure that that money is correctly spent. And we cannot ensure that that money is being correctly spent if there are contracts that are being made and paid for without the council's consent. It is our sacred responsibility, again, to make sure that all that money is spent correctly. And when we give that sole authority to an unelected official, we are being negligent in our responsibilities. I promise people that our city government would both be transparent and accountable to people. We cannot fulfill that promise if we have an unelected official making financial decisions as to contracts they're going to enter into for professional consulting services. So at this time, I want to move that we direct the staff to prepare an ordinance for the council to consider at the next meeting that maintains that the city manager's current spending authority with the exception, that maintains that $50,000 amount with the exception that her authority not include the ability to approve professional consulting agreements. Consulting agreements must be presented to the city council for approval at any amount.
That's a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, if I do want to clarify something for the public. The council does have a responsibility under the charter. You have ultimately the responsibility to allocate all funds for the city. So the only agreements that would be authorized are those agreements that you have provided for in the city budget. That is your responsibility to allocate the resources that are available to the government within the priority areas that you establish. So I have never, nor would I, ever execute an agreement that wasn't in furtherance of the goals and objectives that you've identified and without spending authority. So again, the budget provides for the authority that I would have. I would only do those things in furtherance. And I just want to go back to something that, and I was not here when this was approved, but I would envision that, and I think Mayor Valdivia has commented a couple times and actually asked me about what kinds of things are we doing to try to get projects moving more quickly. We've talked about design build for some of our projects. You've adopted ordinances that allow us to use that, which is really an expedited process for getting projects into the community faster. There are things that come up from time to time where you've given direction and we identify that there's a particular need. Now I'm going to bring those back to you. And it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks potentially to get it on the agenda and then execute contracts after that. So again, the safeguards are within the budget that you allocate and then the goals and objectives that you provide to me each year. And I only execute those things that are really in furtherance of the work product that you've asked for. So I can certainly work within any parameters that are given to me by the council, but I think that really was probably the thinking at the time that that was adopted, that you wanted us to be able to move more nimbly and quickly to get the things accomplished that you've asked us for.
The clerk, if you would, please read the motion prepared by Councilman Sanchez.
The motion is to prepare an ordinance maintaining the city manager's current purchasing authority with the exception of professional consulting agreements.
Is there a second? Yes, Mayor.
I just have a question for Councilmember Sanchez. Is that the reason why you called out all of those check registries?
Yes,
So there
and
was-
you know, and I.
Can you explain that?
Well,
please?
you know, this is a prime example, and I didn't want to have to bring this up. So I asked the city manager yesterday for the audit of the purchasing order report, the ones that are handed out every month to council members. I've only been a council member for the last 2 months. I asked for the last 6 months, and that was given to me once I asked for it in person. Maybe half an hour before the beginning of the council meeting. I had asked for that yesterday. It was provided to her through the purchasing agent in the finance department to her yesterday, about an hour after I had requested that information. That was then not handed over to me until I spoke with the city manager personally, asking for that information. There needs to be transparency. The very nature that she's entering into contracts with professional consultants is a policy decision. And I've had my hand slapped a couple times already that I've overstepped my bounds and that the purview of my responsibilities here as a council member are to make policy decisions. And I will stay in line, but understand that there are cases, and this is a prime example, where policy decisions are being made by the city manager. This is our responsibility. We were elected by the people of this city to ensure that the money is being spent the way that they see fit through us. And I don't think that's happening. I do think that there is business that needs to be conducted, and that's why I insist that, or I don't insist, but I am fine with that $50,000 limit being kept at its current level. But I do believe that any professional consulting services do need to come before this council. And for us to relinquish our responsibility as a council and the guardians of the purse of this city's treasury is irresponsible.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Sanchez, to clarify, you're suggesting that the threshold of $50,000 not be revoked or reduced, but rather that the council consider and that any special agreements via consulting services come before the council. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So, and historically, the council, and I clearly remember, I think I voted no. Councilman Nickel, I checked the record, you voted no too. And so we authorized, this was at the encouragement, before you even came, so this is nothing personal, that from $24,999, it be increased to $49,999. So that's the motion before you. Any other discussion points?
I was trying to. I want to respond. I think it's slightly, and I'm sorry, unreasonable. I can't always return something the very next day. It was actually given to me today, and yes, I didn't have a chance to check my email, but I think every member of this council would say that I try to be as responsive. I responded to you at midnight the other night. So again, I try to be as responsive as I can to you, but I also have a set of goals and objectives that you've given to me, and I'm trying to accomplish those. So I try to get you things as quickly as I can. I cannot always immediately respond to the requests, though. I do try to do it as quickly as I possibly can. And if I know you need something, I certainly do try my very best to get it to you within that time frame.
Don't we approve contracts?
And yes, to that point, you do approve contracts. I attempt to bring all contracts to you. Certainly, if they're over the $50,000, yes, those come to you. There are some services agreements that are signed by me and frankly recommended in many cases by the departments for things, not only goods and services for routine maintenance items, but as we have projects, for instance, road work that needs to be completed, where we have design work that needs to be done. If it's going to be under the $50,000 threshold, often I will sign that at the recommendation of the department head. So most of the time, those are not even being generated necessarily by my office. Yes.
Councilman Charette.
I don't hear a second, so I'm moving the motion as it stands.
Second.
Very good. Any discussion? Members would cast their vote. The clerk would announce the vote, please.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Charette and a second by Councilmember Mulvihill. 4-2. However, this is a receive and file, so I'm not sure. Is it to receive and file?
Then I'll make the
Hold on, Mr. Charette. The city attorney, do you have a?
Well, that's what I asked. I actually asked her to read the motion, so it's just confirming the motion was just to receive and file the report.
Correct.
There's no additional action as I
Very well.
understand it.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 22, commercial cannabis business permit application process. At the last council meeting, I asked for an update to the public, and Ms. City Manager, if you would, please.
Mayor, members of the council, you did ask for an update on the commercial cannabis process. As we've heard tonight, we have 39 applicants. There was some issue with the appeal process, and we were concerned with the length of time that it was taking to move those through the process. I also appreciated the gentleman's comment that we have attempted to create a process that's fair, that gives us a chance to look at some background information and make good recommendations to the mayor and council. But I think as we move forward, we do recognize the need to find ways to compress some of that. We certainly want to provide due process, but I don't know that we want to have as many steps maybe in future processes as we've created this time. So we have moved all 39 applications to the final phase. We're just completing the work now. There are interviews that are being conducted. There is a group of staff members that are doing that. They represent various city departments, the police department, fire department, community development, and business registration. They will be assisting in developing that final ranking, and we do have the meeting scheduled with the mayor and council for February 21st, and I apologize, since this agenda was published, we looked at the timing that we anticipate it's going to take. It is 39 applications, and as one of the gentlemen indicated, some of the applications are very thorough, 100 to 150 pages. So we would, at the council's indulgence, like to move that meeting to 3:30 on February 21st. We want to make sure that we provide plenty of time for the applicants to answer your questions and provide any additional information. At that meeting, we will certainly start with a discussion about our city codes. There are some things that we are noticing in terms of our process that we want the council to be aware of, and then we will walk through how the individuals were ranked and the reasons for that. And again, we're hoping that on the 21st, we're able to take action on those permits, so there's some level of finality for the applicants themselves. And if there are any questions about that, I can certainly answer them.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. City Manager. So Thursday, February 21st at 3:30 p.m.
Correct, sir.
Thank you for your report. Motion to receive and file. I don't know if we need a motion or just receive and file.
Unless
There's no
there are objections, yeah.
All right, very well. Moving on to staff report segment. of our council meeting. Item number 23, ATP Grant Revised Funding Level Oral Report. This first staff report, item number 23, aligns with my goals as mayor for growth and development of our community. Active transportation for our community means safety for our cyclists, pedestrians, and for our children and families. This grant allows us to attract businesses that want to relocate here to a walkable community like the development near Cal State San Bernardino. Ms. City Manager, please, if you would, please proceed.
Thank you, and I apologize. As we were publishing the agenda, this item really kind of came to our attention. Trish is going to walk through the ATP grant. The council had, I'm sorry, where's Trish? Or Trish has turned into Alex. But anyway, Alex is going to walk through. But we did receive notification. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I meant to do this before we started. I'm sorry. Forgive me completely.
Okay, then I'm going to continue.
I do have a question at the end of this presentation.
Okay, so we had, as the council's aware, you'd asked us to be proactively looking for active transportation grants. We've also partnered with the school district on safe routes to school, and so we're constantly out looking for those grant opportunities. They identified this one as a cooperative project with the county of San Bernardino and the city of Highland. We applied for it, but we received bad notification, but there may be an opportunity, and we want to explore that with the council and ask how you would like us to proceed. Alex?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. In May 2018, the City of Highland approached the City of San Bernardino Public Works staff with a proposal for a cooperative application with the County of San Bernardino to apply for an active transportation program cycle fall grant, best known as ATP grant. The proposed project is to construct bikeways, sidewalks, traffic calming, road diet, roundabout, historic district improvement, pavement rehabilitation, and pedestrian safety improvements. The location for the improvements, and I believe that there is a map that was given to the council, it will be the Rosa Drive from 3rd Street to Pacific Street, and Pacific Street from the Rosa Drive to Boulder Avenue, and Palm Avenue from Baseline to Bedamont Drive. This is about 6.1 mile of road that need to be worked at. The original funding that we came up to this council and we asked for permission to apply for this. At the time, it was determined that as the total project will be $11 million. The City of San Bernardino share at that time was $1.5 million, and the City of Highland was at 1.7. County was at 43,000 because they have a small area within that project limit. The application, and City of Highland did a tremendous job into preparing the application. But out of 54 statewide application for funding, only 44 were recommended for state funding. Unfortunately, the City of Highland application was received a low grades for the application. But always there is hope. There is always a second round of competition for these kind of grants. That is to be conducted by SBCTA. And SBCTA have informed us that there is, what is a leftover is about, what we'll get from the grant is about 2.6 million in opposed to the 7.7 million that we applied for originally. Well, what that mean is that will change the San Bernardino match from 1.5 million to 3.9 million. And City of Highland change will be from 1.7 million to 4.35 million. The county, like I said, is a small issue that will increase it from 44,000 to about 112,000. So what City of Highland is requesting that if we can participate into this grant, and we are looking for the council for guidance in this one.
Again, when we had asked about this grant, we did include in the capital improvement budget funding to cover our share, assuming that we were to get the grant as we had applied for it. But now we didn't, and the share would go up dramatically. But before we said thank you, but no thank you, we wanted to explore it with you. And it's a great project, but it is a lot more money than what we had.
Very good. So your specific request is What do you want the council to do?
Just concurrence that we reject the grant at this time, but do try to continue to, use this. It's a great program. Maybe apply for future ATP funding based on the initial levels that we all identified. But we do have a partner, City of Highland, that is not going to be happy with it.
Councilman Mulvihill.
Yeah, I guess that's probably what I'll move. I'm really sad that, because this is probably a follow-up. We had an ATP grant last year or a couple years ago. To kind of map out areas that could be identified for this kind of active transportation. And so it really makes it sad. But, I think, $3 million as opposed to $1 million is a major jump, and it really, we're working on a very narrow margin. So I think it's only realistic for us to move that we, say thank you, but no thank you, and that we'll be applying in the future. If something changes, if somebody drops out, somebody doesn't take their grant, that will be right there. But we really can't see through it.
Very good. Is that your motion, sir?
Yes.
Very good. Is there a second?
I have a comment, Mayor.
Seconded by Councilman Charette.
I have a comment.
Yes, Councilmember Law.
My comment, we just got the map. I wish I would have gotten it earlier. The 3 million spike is killing me, so I'm going to move to reject it too. But we have to know, for those who don't see the map, a lot of these proposed projects are within the City of Highland and the county's pockets. I represent Second Ward, and I'm north of Pacific Street. There's county pockets within that area as well, north of Pacific. But baseline from Del Rosa all the way east, that's Highland, and we got some county in there. 9th Street, do you have 9th Street in Del Rosa? Yeah. Okay, so we got some First Ward. But for the Second Ward, how did they come up with the 3 million again? I mean, they're looking by the mileage, right?
Well, what
We
is-
share.
Yes, it's the share for what the jurisdictions. So basically, for, like you said, for example, like Pacific Street, half of it in the Highland, half of it in San Bernardino. So that's how they calculate square footage for the Highland, square footage for San Bernardino, and then the square footage for the county. So that is how they come up with the shares. And as you can see from, I'm sorry, but there's no report, but the City of Highland share is higher than the City of San Bernardino share.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I know Pacific, Second Ward covers the northern end of Pacific.
Yes,
South is either county or Highland.
Highland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's
okay, thank
unfortunate.
you.
This
Yeah.
project serves 6 schools within San Bernardino, but
And again, it doesn't mean that we aren't going to keep trying for it. Just, we think at this point, it's probably not something we should pursue, given that it's not budgeted for that high amount.
Very good. Councilman Charette.
Thank you. You made a comment that our partner, our City of Highland's not going to be happy with us, and I think I understand that. I'd like you to maybe elaborate on that, and they're, in other words, you're saying they're not going to be happy with us not going up to the 3 million mark, and they're going to have to go up to over the 4 million mark. So they're not going to have much, I'm assuming they won't have much alternative but to probably pass on it as well, especially if we're not participating.
exactly.
And were they the lead agency on the app?
Yes.
Yes.
they will.
And we didn't have particularly any input on it, or?
Oh, no, we did.
We did.
Oh, no, we worked with them on it, but they would have been the lead agency.
Okay.
And again,
So they don't get all the credit for it not failing?
No, it was a team
I
effort.
want to make that clear.
Yeah,
It's-
no, it was a team effort.
And there was a lot of competition as well,
Exactly.
right?
That's-
Okay.
That was really the driving, there was a lot of competition.
Yeah, over 500, did you say?
554 applications submitted.
554.
And only
And there was
44.
only 44 that were approved?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Very good. We have a motion on the floor, and it's been moved by Councilman Mulvihill and seconded by Charette. If you members cast a vote, or no objections to reject. If there's no objections, we'll proceed on. Very good. Item number 24, Legislative Branch Staffing, Offices of the Mayor and Council. Madam City Manager.
Members of the council, this is an item that you have had before you multiple times. At the last meeting, you requested that we work with Councilmember Nickel to further refine the proposal for the staffing of the legislative branch that he had orally presented. We had a chance to do that. We also had some subsequent discussions with the mayor's office. You have before you the mayor's office proposal. I did adjust that, notify the council that I did misunderstand. There would also be under that proposal elimination of one position. I think that the mayor, someone from the mayor's office may present on that momentarily. And then again, we're available to answer any questions. We didn't want to include all the various options you'd seen before, and so we thought maybe for ease of discussion, we just included those as an exhibit, the other prior staff report with all the other models. The only thing you have in this staff report is the two that we most recently discussed. And with that,
Very good. We have contributions from Councilman Nickel. Councilman Nickel, do you have any comments on your staffing proposal?
Yeah, well, I think the effort here, because I agree, I think that at best, our current staffing structure is outdated, and at worst, it is largely inadequate in terms of meeting the needs of our constituents. I think, I'll speak for myself, but I think we have a rather significant caseload that we have to deal with on a regular basis. And I think to be fair to the constituents to provide that level of service that they rightly expect and demand, we need to ensure that we have the most efficient operations possible within our legislative operations in the city. I also got a lot of feedback from my own constituents, other individuals, residents of the city, that wanted to ensure that we stick within our budget, that we maintain fiscal discipline. So I think people are open to the idea of improving the way we operate, but they want to make sure that we're doing so in a fiscally responsible way, and that we're also looking at ways we can improve the way we operate as a legislative body. And I think the old architecture was one that separated the council from the mayor's office. And I think that the new charter approved by the voters of the city is one that really looks at, it actually uses the term collaborate. And that based on that, I incorporated a lot of those recommendations to create a collaborative structure now that would still retain staff within the mayor's office. I think the mayor still needs his or her own staff. I think the duties and responsibilities of the mayor under the new charter are still such that it's a full-time job. The charter specifies that. And so the mayor certainly needs to ensure that he or she has that full-time staff. But then looking at the additional staff that can also serve the council, looking at a structure that is in fact collaborative, that ensures that the mayor and the council are truly working together to meet the needs of constituents in the city. And so that's what this structure creates on page 436. It essentially restructures the staff in a way that retains two full-time staff and one part-time staff under the mayor, directly under the mayor, answerable to the mayor's chief of staff, and then creates a new legislative director position that then oversees two additional full-time staff that are shared between the mayor and council. And we're calling that the legislative staff. And then there would be up to 4 part-time entry-level field representatives that would work within that legislative staff structure as well. And that really gives some of our young people an opportunity to get engaged in the city, to start serving their community, and getting paid for it. And I think that that's really a system that I think we should encourage. So I think what this was really about was coming to a compromise position that ensured that, again, we retained fiscal responsibility. We still gave the mayor the independence he or she needs to serve as the mayor and serve out those duties, but then also looked at the remainder of the staff that are currently separated, and literally sit only about 50 feet or so apart, how we can bring them together, create a collaborative model. So then to continue on page 437, the section recruitment, selection, reporting structure, this really outlines how the legislative director is selected, which is a combination of the mayor pro tem, and a member of the council selected at large, will be responsible for ultimately bringing back a recommendation for who that legislative director is. And then that person then becomes the head of the legislative staff and then follows through with the selection, recruitment of additional legislative staff up to that total of four part-time staff in addition to a legislative assistant and administrative assistant under the legislative staff structure. So that is a recommendation. I think hopefully tonight, if we could at least get to a motion to move forward with the recruitment of a legislative director. And then I think we can have some discussion in terms of whether we have 4 or 2 part-time legislative field staff, ideally at our visioning workshop on the 11th. But I think tonight my hope is that we can get the ball rolling and begin the process of at least getting the recruitment process underway for that legislative director and really get to a system that I think is much more aligned with the charter, the intent that the voters had, and a system that is truly collaborative and gets us to a model that really serves our constituents in the most optimal way
Very
possible.
good. Thank you, Councilman Nickel. We've been holding these conversations for the past several meetings today. I hope that our council can come to a full and complete resolution on the future of our services to taxpayers. As I have suggested repeatedly in my council conversations, that we serve residents, we serve customers. I treat taxpayers like our customer with great customer service. That's the industry that I've been in. At this time, based on the feedback from the public and the council, just a minute, Mr. Mulvihill. Based on the feedback from the public and the council, I have revised my staffing proposal and request. I will now ask my Chief of Staff, Bill Asaley, to present the revised proposal. Mr. Asaley?
A quick question, please.
Mr. Asaley, you're recognized.
Just want to ask Henry a question on his before we hear yours.
Okay, I'll be brief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Building on the proposal we developed last time, we've amended it based on the feedback from the council and members of the public. It largely is the same proposal with some important modifications. I'm going to just go over the modifications in the proposal. In the alternate proposal presented today, it involves or includes 2 part-time field representatives as opposed to 4 full-time field representatives that were originally proposed. That's important because part-time employees are not benefited, so it would have as much of a cost on the city as full-time positions. The mayor's alternate proposal does eliminate an existing position in the city council's office that's vacant, but it doesn't eliminate any existing filled positions. I'm not sure, but I believe Councilman Nichols may involve the elimination of some existing positions. The fiscal impact on the annual budget is been brought down now to $64,000 a year. Again, this is a huge reduction from the original proposal. The hiring process largely remains the same. There's a selection panel, involves the mayor pro tem, and an at-large member of the city council. They will select the 2 executive assistants, or I believe those positions are filled, an administrative assistant to the council, as well as the 2 new field reps would be hired by the selection panel. And I have notated in there that human resources would work with the selection panel to ensure all personnel procedures are applied, just as it would apply to any other hiring process in the city. Again, the question was raised as to who they would report to. There were concerns about separation, so that they don't report to the city manager, which is more in the executive function, that they would report more in the council mayor function. And here we've designated the chief of staff as the point person, and I did note in there that the chief of staff would consult with council members in regards to the oversight, performance reviews, day-to-day monitoring of these employees. As far as the mayor's office, it will still have about 4 employees. It does add a communications director. This is important because Westbound is no longer serving that function, and this person here would serve that. The other 2 positions exist, and then there'd be a new position for a service rep inside the mayor's office. So the mayor's office would remain relatively similar size to it is now. I believe it'd add 1 additional person. And that, in essence, is the alternate proposal.
And Mr. Saley, the cost savings or the cost to the budget has been significantly reduced from the original proposal that I
Yes, it's
requested.
down to 64,000 is the impact on the annual budget.
Very good. I appreciate the efforts of Councilman Nickel and certainly our council. I respectfully ask that we approve the proposal by the mayor's alternative staffing proposal as presented by Mr. Azalea. Is there a motion in that order?
Comment, please.
Councilman Charette.
Thank you. I have a question of Councilman Nickel. And I can support your program. I can support it. My big heartburn, though, is I got to get it back in front of me. Is the legislative director who becomes essentially, I'm going to call him the office manager for the time being, to oversee those 4 or 5 other people, the legislative assistant, the administrative assistant, and then you say 4 or more part-time, and earlier you said up to 4.
No, I said up to 4.
This says 4 or more part-time, non-benefited. Okay. Well, that's all.
It was up to 4.
Just clarification. So it's up to 4.
Up to 4, yeah.
And that would be something that maybe at an appropriate time we could discuss whether we need 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that could be done easily, well. But I do believe that that this becomes, again, a department, so to speak, the legislative department, albeit we're pretty autonomous as elected officials. But the office employees, we're all part-time. We're not there daily. And that person that is going to be the full-time legislative director is going to be full-time and be there daily and can easily direct those other 2, 4, or 6 people. But who's going to give the legislative director direction? I believe that person should fall under the city manager at the very least, at least be reporting to the city manager as really currently the charter calls for those employees to be under the direction of the city manager. Is that not correct?
The council by ordinance chose to do that, and that can be undone just as you did that. I think as you create, though, this opportunity, I think if I can speak on your behalf, and you can correct me if I'm incorrect, I think really what he's suggesting is that person would be employed by a group, much like you employ a city manager, and at some point you'll be doing a city attorney. That panel would be responsible for selecting that person, and then you would have that person responsible for all the other employees.
Right, but
and that is workable.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
And I don't disagree on the hiring process, but the person can't have 4 or 5 bosses.
They wouldn't. They would take direction from this group.
Well, that's 3 bosses then.
Yeah, but I
Or
have
4.
8.
Huh?
I have 8.
Well,
3 is better than 8.
Somehow, yeah. Your point's well taken, but somehow that's a little bit, I guess maybe I'd be willing to, as long as, and I think pretty much everything we do is not really set in stone. Something that the voters vote on is set in stone until it gets changed. but something that we do, we can review and modify at a later date. So I really don't support any of this. I really don't. But I see the need to get to some sort of compromise on this thing. And with that, I would move that we approve the proposal that has been made essentially by Councilman Nickel.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you. So I have a question for Henry, because I'm looking at the structure, and so the only difference that I see is there's executive assistant to council, and there's two. And over here, you have a legislative director and a legislative assistant. So what you're doing is you want to change the title.
And the reporting.
Oh, and who they report to. So you're suggesting that they report to whom?
The reporting structure for the combined legislative, now, just to be clear, the legislative staff will work for both the mayor and council. So the mayor will still have his chief of staff, the mayor will still have his or her executive assistant, and still have interns and others. I mean, in future budget years, maybe we decide to add some additional staff. So there'll still be a separate branch that will serve just the mayor. And I do believe that the mayor needs his or her own chief of staff as an advisor. I support that. I think that's appropriate. But I also believe that the combined structure needs to be such that there is a legislative director that works in collaboration with both the council and mayor. And so what I've done is I've created this legislative staff group, which is composed of the mayor pro tem, which is elected by the council at large, the mayor, and then another council member that we would select at large. And they would be responsible for meeting more or less perhaps monthly, however they want to work it out with the legislative director, and meet with that person, oversee that person on a more regular basis. The legislative director would periodically report back to us as a collective council mayor legislative body in terms of what work's being done, what the caseload is, how many cases they've handled, you know, what work is getting done. And then also work with the chief of staff, work with the city attorney, work with the city manager on a regular basis to identify where there might be some log jams or some problems in terms of getting items resolved. But I think the chief of staff needs to be independent. I think that needs to be an independent function that serves the mayor as an advisor, is independent, and I don't want the council to get involved and mired in the process of identifying who the chief of staff needs to be. I think that's solely at the discretion of the mayor, and the mayor should and historically has had the ability to choose that person. So I think that's what's different. It's creating a legislative director that is shared by both the mayor and council and still retains an independent number of staff that serve directly under the mayor and for the mayor.
Okay, so that's one of the things that I solely disagree with. And the reason being is because too many chiefs and not enough Indians. So what you're creating is you're creating two chiefs. And if we're going to be one body, we need one chief. And I think that everybody needs to report to one person instead of this group reporting to this group and this group reporting to this group. And I don't know, just in the office that I work in daily, when you start creating too many chiefs, that's when the confusion comes in. And so I say that this is something that we talked about, that this would be something that would be in the interim kind of until the new budget comes out and we decide what works and what don't work. But I believe that when you start creating all of this legislative director, you have a director and then you have a chief of staff. The director and the chief of staff is eventually going to start butting heads because both of them think they're the chief. So I say that we have one at the top and let everybody report to that one. And I like the fact that this one only has 2 field reps versus this one it says up to 4. But I think that, like we said, when budget time comes, we can rethink that and relook at that. But I think that we need one chief. one chief, and that way we know who reports to whom, and we don't have all of those.
Well, how would you feel about
hold
the
on,
chief of
Mr.
staff
Mr. Nickel.
reporting to the council as well?
Mr. Nickel, just a moment. So, Mayor Pro Tem, if I'm hearing you correctly, the proposal, there's two varying proposals here. We have the Councilman Nickel proposal for legislative director as provided in the backup. Then the proposal that I've proposed via Mr. Saley is the mayor and council staffing proposal, which essentially has been pared down from 4 full-time benefited positions to 2 part-time positions. So, Mayor Pro Tem, are you is there a motion then to approve the staffing proposal as presented by Mr. Saley?
That is my motion.
Is there a second?
And we want to rethink this when budget time comes.
Very good.
And that way, if it doesn't work, and if we decide or we feel that we do need this legislative director, then we can change it at that point. But right now, we don't want to start with like I said, too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Mr. Mulville.
A number of issues now.
The microphone.
Now, Councilman Nickel, your proposal, you would make this subject to a workshop discussion in which we can compare it with the budget and so forth, because it says $64,000. I'd like to see that vetted and just see what's in regarding it. Also, too, the communication, well, the whole thing about the selection panel, the way it's written, it really blurs what the role of human resources are. In the asterisk below, it says, human resources will work with the selection panel to ensure, well, that sounds as though human resources is subject to the selection panel. Basically, it should go through the human resources, and whatever human resources comes up with, then the panel will have a selection to go through, what they feel. But it has to go through, according to the charter, 508, it will first go through human resources, and they will vet all the candidates. Now, as far as candidates, if we're going to have a true union between council and the mayor's office, the chief of staff, I mean, you're talking about Bill Saley. I think that in this case, the job needs to be open again. It needs to go through human resources, because is Bill Saley, if he's going to be in control of what's going on in the council, I want somebody who's, I'm satisfied with, somebody who's been vetted by HR. And so I think we really need to go back and with personnel, and maybe the chief of staff is the wrong word, because that puts it in the mayor's office. Maybe it needs to be the legislative director or something like that, who works both with the mayor's office and with the council. That would really make it unified. I don't want to see it just put in the mayor's office. Also, the communications director is just in the mayor's office? Well, the mayor's, yeah, that's the position. It's in the mayor's office, according to the mayor's proposal. Why is that? I mean, that's a council decision. Communications is for the city. It's for the population. It's not for the mayor personally. And so it sounds as though this is just part of the role of the mayor as being the spokesman for the city. It's a communications proposal. Well, presumably, with the mayor's office and the council, it's got to be really what the council is concerned about, and with all these legislative individuals. So my point is that we really need to vet this more in a situation where we're looking at where HR comes in, where these various positions, the communications director, make sure that we fulfill the chartered demand, 508. It will go through the human resources, and there's no blurring. That's the charter. That's what the citizens voted on. We can't change that. And according to what was just said by Mr. Saley, we are changing it. And the way it's written here, that is changing it. And so I would have to say that the best thing that we should do is to go with what Councilman Nichol is proposing. We really need to vet this more. It's nothing we need to rush through. We've dealt with this structure for a long time. Basically, you work hard being a councilman, and you get out there and you attend meetings at night. And if you can't attend all the meetings, people call you up. You make phone calls at night. We do that, and so the point is that regardless, maybe what Councilman Nichols is proposing is a compromise. But I really see lots of problems with the proposal from the mayor's office. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can clarify, the communications director is in the mayor's office. That's consistent with the language in the charter that sets the spokesperson role directly in the mayor, not in the council. That role is in the mayor and in the mayor's position. He's the spokesperson of the city. He speaks for the city. He speaks to the media and handles press releases. Also, we are not proposing any changes to the charter or in the roles that have been laid out in the charter. This staffing proposal has been submitted to the city attorney's office, and we have the chief city attorney here, and I'm sure she could opine if there was any concerns with that.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you. I think we're just getting titles mixed up about where this position is sitting. I mean, there's positions that are sitting in Andrea's office, and they work for the whole city, including us. So I believe that the staff will work not just for the mayor. They will work for everybody as the mayor and the council. I think we're getting stuck and hung up on where the position lies. And if it lies in the mayor and the city council's office, why is it such a problem? But with saying that, I still want my motion to go forward, but I do want to apologize because I think that I was being insensitive when I mentioned chiefs and Indian chiefs, and so I want to apologize for that. I meant nothing by it. All I mean is that everybody wants to be on the top, and when you start having too many bosses and not enough people to follow, you have two leaders at the top, and if you have nobody to follow their lead, then what's the purpose? But my motion still stands.
I would like to put forward a substitute motion.
Hold on. We already have a motion by Councilman Charette, and there's a substitute motion on the floor. The substitute motion on the floor is the proposal by Mr. Saley. So I'd like to, so we can have.
My motion.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Charette.
There's not a motion on the
So,
floor.
hold on, sir. We do have a motion on the floor. The motion stands by Mayor Pro Tem Richard with a second by Councilman Sanchez. We will close and ask for a vote.
Didn't you make a substitute?
Yeah, I would like to make a substitute motion. Respecting our Mayor Pro Tem's motion, I think the Chief of Staff position needs to be selected by the mayor and council collectively. I would only make that modification to the motion as it exists, but I think my understanding is the Chief of Staff position is exclusively under the discretion of the mayor. That is not consistent with the charter. That is not consistent with a collaborative relationship between the council and mayor. I would be willing to entertain the motion on the floor so long as the Chief of Staff is a position that is selected by the mayor and council collectively. That will be my substitute motion through HR, correct?
I believe, Sonia, you mentioned last time that HR could do something to where this hiring practice could happen the way it.
Well, I think HR has got to be the one where someone submits an application. The application goes straight to HR. HR is the one that vets the qualifications, makes sure that person's qualified. Once they do that, as we do with other positions, they then have a interview process, and they can involve you in the actual selection.
Would the Mayor Pro Tem be amenable to that friendly amendment? On the microphone?
So before you answer that, Mayor Pro Tem.
Repeat what you're asking me to.
Hold on, Councilman Nichol. Councilman Nichol. Mr. Mulvihill.
Stop interrupting.
Mr. Mulvihill.
Let the scene answer.
Sir, you're not recognized. You're out of order.
Well, you're out of order.
Are you done, Mr. Mulvihill?
Are you?
So, Mayor Pro Tem, I am not supportive of the substitute motion by Councilman Nichol.
We first see if there's a second to the substitute motion before we have a conversation.
Is there a second to Councilman Nichols' substitute motion? Having heard none,
Well,
The-
it was a friendly amendment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Would the Mayor Pro Tem be willing to entertain the selection of the Chief of Staff as a collaborative responsibility of the mayor and council together?
No, because I believe that the mayor is entitled to pick his own
Then I
chief
will
of
be leaving
staff.
the room. Thank you.
thank you. So we have a substitute motion. We have a motion on the floor. Okay. We will adjourn this meeting. We will recess the meeting 15 minutes. Please. At this time, we do not have a quorum, and I'll say this, and then the city clerk will make an announcement. We have lots of city business to conduct remaining here on the balance of our calendar of agenda items. Animal shelter, community police substations. Those are very important priorities that align with the legislative priorities of our community. It's unfortunate that we don't have a membership quorum. Councilman Charette, Councilman Mulvihill, and now Councilman Nichol have refused to return back to the dais in protest and objection to my staffing proposal. This staffing proposal comes way down, and this is, I believe, a very good product. And this time I will recognize the city clerk.
Quorum was lost at 8:18 PM. We recessed for 23 minutes. And so since we do not have a quorum, we will adjourn this meeting at 8:42.